Sunday night party started. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Trouble, turn 3. Dale Jarrett.
The first lap of those first 10.
Yeah, this is the track is just treacherous right now, Larry. It's slick. This is one of my big concerns. If I was a driver down there tonight, I'd be saying 10 laps.
I think a very cold tire with a very slick racetrack.
Darrell, you said in these first laps, turn 3 would be.
Hold your line. That's what I was doing.
Let's see what happens.
He dove under you.
The UPS Ford.
Oh, that looks like may have gotten some contact there from
Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon.
7.
You heard Dale say he dove, or his spotter say he dove under you.
Dick Bergman.
When the formal portion of today's drivers' meeting ended, Mark Martin stood and addressed his fellow drivers and reminded them that this tire doesn't really get going for 5 or 6 laps and to take it very, very easy for those first few laps. He also asked the crew chiefs to issue that same reminder. NASCAR's David Hoots echoed that same comment, and we got to be careful tonight on new tires.
Robbie Gordon changed engines after practice, had to start this race from the rear. First caution of the day is out. 25 different drivers have won the Coca-Cola 600 since its inception in 1960. We're ready to come to the green flag after caution on lap 1 for Dale Jarrett's. Spin into the turn 3 wall. Robbie Gordon pitted, came back out on track. We're back under green.
Darrell, this could be the salvation of the first 10 laps. A single file restart now that we're into the race.
Yeah, they get everybody single file. That keeps you from going down in there and doubling up. Although back in the field, you're going to see that because they kind of anticipate the start. They get a little bit better run.
Nice move by Kevin Harvick on the restart around the outside. Picked up 2 spots. Here he comes after Denny Hamlin.
Tell you one thing, you hear those throttles are just tippy-toeing right now. Easy in the gas.
Tony Stewart crashed here last night in the Busch race. They took him to the hospital for precautionary x-rays. Matt, how is he today?
Well, he's doing very well, Mike, considering now Joe Gibbs, a visionary, has his team set up with 2 pit crew coaches. Paul Aleppo, he's more like maintenance, while Al Schubert is more like precautionary and also repair. He helped Denny Hamlin when he had the stitches in his hand, rehabbed him. Also worked with Smoke when he did the double the last time. But he worked with Smoke this morning doing therapy on Tony's right side. Also, Tony was wearing a TENS unit. But he just came on the radio and said he's not bad, except when he tries to raise his right hand and right arm, then it's definitely sore. But considering, he's not doing too bad.
Yeah, good thing he's left-handed.
Yeah, he's left-handed, and most of the damage you suffer is under your shoulder blade. Your ribs under your shoulder blade take a real shot in these seats. That makes it very difficult to reach up, as you see J.J. Yaley there, who is making his first Cup start here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Second place, Jimmy Johnson, the Lowe's Chevrolet, coming after Jeremy Mayfield's Dodge.
I got to tell you, Larry, I think you'd agree, if that 48 car is that good this early, look out, because we know what he can do when the sun goes down.
Well, he said it in the pre-race. He knew he had a good race car when this racetrack cooled down.
Johnson to second. He's about a full second behind race leader Scott Riggs.
And most of the really smart guys that race up front all the time, you catch me, I'll move over and let you go. Not going to hold you up. Got a long, long way to go.
battle right here for 10th. Jeff Burton, he just drives by Greg Biffle in the 16 car. I've been watching Greg Biffle. He seems like he's playing a little cautious right now. He started up there in the 7th position. Now he has fallen basically almost out of the top 10. Maybe his car just not what it should be right now.
Well, you know, Biffle has a history of setting up really, really loose, Larry, for later in the night. So he's probably just hanging on that thing right now.
Jeff Gordon running in 13th as you look back from Casey Kane's Dodge.
That's exactly where Jeff Gordon in the 24 car started. So he's just kind of holding his own. Look at Stewart. He's going to get 2 cars going off into turn 3. He's going to get by Casey Mears in the 42 as well as Ryan Newman in the 12.
Mears, who came within a sip of gas of winning here last night. Dale Jr. coming into that fray. He is 29th right now behind Mark Martin.
Tony Stewart is basically averaging about a car a lap. He's moved already up to the 25th position after starting in 32nd.
Jeff Burton, he's 10th, looking for 9th against Yaley in the 18.
It's just so obvious when someone has got a car that's really handling well, they get such a big run on the car in front of them. The guy in front's lifting a little, the guy behind him's in the gas, blows right by.
Right in front of this pack right here, looks like Greg Biffle's going to get J.J. Yaley in the 18, but just right in front of this group, I've been watching this 66 car of Jeff Green. He has had a great week and a half out here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Qualified 10th. He has moved up 3 or 4 positions. He just went by Denny Hamlin just a few laps ago. He's moved all the way up to the 6th position already. Good run for this. Remember, this is Hendrick Motorsports power.
Dale Jarrett, who crashed on lap 1, took his car to the garage and exited the track.
He came in here 12th in the points. Not that many points out of 10. About 58 points out.
I don't think Dale was very happy, guys. Listen to that radio transmission. He was very, very unhappy.
Bobby Labonte driving for the King. Richard Petty, 4th place, and a track where he is so good and even better at this place's sister track in Atlanta.
Well, he almost broke Jimmy Johnson's spell on this place in this race last year. If his car had been just a half a foot longer, I think he'd have won.
And just remember how good he was at Atlanta. You talked about the sister track. Led 50-something laps at the beginning of that race, and then the engine let go.
See one thing, he's getting up off the corner over right now, a little bit better than Jeremy is in the 19 car.
Now that's Evernham engine versus Evernham engine right there. The Petties do run the Evernham engine package.
There's Riggs, the leader, 1.5 seconds back. Jimmy Johnson, 3 seconds back. Mayfield and Labonte. Or make it Labonte and Mayfield. Jeff Gordon backing up. He has fallen to 15th and into the clutches of his Hendrick teammate Kyle Busch.
Remember in the All-Star race last week, he wasn't very good for the first 8 or 10 laps. Then he came on later in the run.
Dick Bergman, problems?
Well, in practice earlier this week, he was loose in the daytime, but right now the car is extremely tight for Jeff Gordon. That's not what they expected. They thought the car was going to be loose. It's not.
Tell you what, his teammate Kyle Busch in that 5 car, he started back in the 28th position. He's going by Jeff Gordon now. That will be for 16th, bringing Reed Sorensen, the young rookie, in the 41 car with him.
Scott Riggs has led every one of the 16 laps so far.
Has led all the way, 22 laps in. We've already had a caution. Dale Jarrett, his worst finish ever in a Cup race. He is done for the day at 43rd. Jeff Hamlin, let's talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr., who started 34th up to 26th, and Tony Stewart, who started 32nd, moving up to 25th. Those two are working their way to the front of the pack.
Yeah, definitely are, because Tony's already at 23rd, and Dale Jr. is right behind him, They're in 24th. Talked to Tony Uri Jr., the crew chief on this car today. They feel like they've got a package that is very tunable. They were very comfortable, even though they qualified bad, that they'd be able to work their way to the front before the end of the night.
Further up front, Carl Edwards, who started 22nd around the 15-16 spot, won the Busch race on this track last night, still looking for his first Cup win this year.
But this could be the kind of motivation, the kind of momentum swing you'd like to see for this young man. He usually gets on a roll. He's hard to handle. Wouldn't be one bit surprised to see him do the sweep this weekend.
And how about Elliott Sadler, who Friday night at a Speed Channel show stumbled off the stage and bruised his thigh, but okay to run in the Busch race and here.
Yeah, but he's right now, he's struggling, guys. I mean, that car looks like it's really bad loose. He's dropped all the way to 38th. And Mike, I know that they're not going to be very happy with that at all.
Watch that 38 of Sadler tucked up behind the Ford. A little below the line, and then the car starts to get away.
That's really what happened. He dropped below the line. There's a difference in the pavement there where it comes up and starts banking, and he got on that flat and loosened the car up. That could very easily wreck you here.
Now, Dale Jarrett is out of this race. Last week, Robert and Doug Yates, who own that team, released general manager Eddie DeHaan. A consequence of this is that DeHaan also served as Dale Jarrett's race day spotter. So today, Jarrett has a new spotter who told DJ, hold your line. That meant one thing to the spotter, it meant another thing to Dale as Robbie Gordon tried to drop underneath. You'll see from Kyle Petty's onboard that Jarrett held his line, which was coming down into the corner. He didn't know Robbie Gordon was there. Jarrett ended up in the wall due to a miscommunication with new personnel.
Yeah, failure to communicate. I mean, it happens with pit crews. It happens with crew chiefs. Talking to pit crews happens with spotters and drivers.
You know,
Jarrett's the only car out of this race at 27 laps, and they've all been led by the Valvoline Dodge of Scott Riggs.
What I was going to say, yeah, the Scott Riggs, the 10 car. Just think about this race car. 11 races ago, they had to go home. They watched the Daytona 500 on television. They missed the show. He has led 27 laps. That's 27 more laps than he has led all year long. That's the first laps he's led in 2006. Every lap so far.
And Larry, guess what? In about 10 more laps, what are we going to start doing?
We're going to start seeing some pit stops. We've been going almost 18 minutes. Remember, we had those 4 caution laps. But yeah, we're at lap 28. We should see some green flag pit stops in about 7 to 9 laps.
All this is because after last year's race here with the ground racetrack and the tires tearing up and cars crashing, 3 different groups took action. NASCAR mandated a smaller fuel cell so the cars wouldn't run long enough to tear up the tires. Lowe's Motor Speedway repaved the racetrack to give it a smoother surface. And Goodyear brought a harder tire. So 3 groups worked to solve that problem and did, but now it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, here's other things that go along with that, Mike. Last year the pole here was almost 193 miles an hour. This year it's 187. That surprised everybody. Thought it would be fast. The other thing is the data for the tire that they built for here was accumulated last year when this track had all those when it was ground and had so much grip, so much side load. Goodyear went back and built this right side tire for those kind of conditions. They do not exist with this new pavement.
So 3 solutions to one problem created a whole different set of circumstances. And that brings us to our first singular virtual crew chief question. Did NASCAR, Goodyear, and the Speedway find the right racing and safety balance for tonight's race? To answer, text the word crew to 191 on your singular wireless phone or log in to foxsports.com/singular. You'll also be entered to win Jeff Burton's payday at Daytona in July.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has moved up to the 24th position. We didn't get to see it that lap because he pulled to the inside of Terry Labonte in the 44. But the last 5 laps down in 3 and 4, he has been right up against the wall. Right behind him, his teammate Martin Truex Jr. saw him do it. He moved all the way up against the wall, and both of them been making some ground up since they did that.
Martin ran that high line last night in the Busch race. And I think he must have shared that with Dale Jr. because he was running in 3 and 4 where they are now, right up next to the outside wall. You see him there. And now in 1 and 2, it doesn't seem to be quite as effective. You run to kind of the lower. But we're talking about the racetrack. I just want to get this in here real quick. This racetrack was built in 1960. It was repaved in 1973. It was repaved again in 1979.
Car in the wall, turn 1.
Tony, Tony
Stewart. And caution will wave for the second time today.
I tell you, that poor guy can't catch a break.
Darrell, the car climbed the hill and eased into the wall. It wasn't a particularly hard hit.
I don't know, Mike. That right front's damaged pretty good, and I saw the brake rotors and parts flying everywhere. That thing crashed hard on that right side, and there's a guy that's already hurt.
And there's definitely a right front tire down, and we don't know if that happened when he hit the wall. We'll have to maybe look at a replay and it'll tell us, but we were about 4 or 5 laps from those green flag stops.
And Mike, this situation right here could be what NASCAR was worried about. We're right on the window of a pit stop. We're right on the window of where these tires maybe could give a problem. We don't know, but what is Matt? Matt, what do you know?
DW, they're taking the car to the garage. Tony just came on the radio and says, we cut a right front tire. Tough break for this team. They've climbed up to second in the championship standings. And like you mentioned, it's just been a tough speed weeks here in Charlotte.
It's been really about 2 or 3 really rough weeks when you think about back to Talladega and the Busch race and a couple of accidents he's had here.
Well, we know you're entering turn 1, even in race configuration, right at 190 miles per hour. So that's a hard lick off into that turn.
And you can see that they're working diligently here with Tony, already injured from that crash last night, or shaken up, I should say.
Stewart hit hard last night in the Busch Series race as Greg Zipadelli.
That's a concerned crew right there. Jimmy Makart, Greg Zipadelli, they're all looking really closely at what's going on.
And you're right, Darrell, this was a pretty hard hit, but let's look at the one last night in that metallic red car right there.
Gosh, and you can see what they did to that race car. It just destroyed it. Just delicately getting up out of the car.
And there's still a question, did he cut a tire last night or did something break on that race?
And this is just the worst place that tire could let go, right down into turn 1. Still just rolled out of the throttle when it took off.
In driver introductions and riding around the track, Stewart was favoring that right side. He was not moving his right arm. He was holding it stiffly, pointed downward at the ground to avoid any more strain on his rib cage, shoulder, and arm.
You can only take so many licks.
Well, it's feeding time, boys. We've got 39 cars on the lead lap. Lap 34, Matt, they're all in.
And Denny Hamlin stops a little short in his box to help his exit because the 40 car will be coming in a little bit later on. Now the car is tight. Changing the air pressure, taking some out of the fronts because the car is pushing badly, and they made a chassis adjustment. Steve?
Matt, early in the race, Jimmy Johnson said his car was a little bit edgy, but now he says it's comfortable. They'll make a small air pressure adjustment in the right rear, Dick.
Scott Riggs has taken 2 tires on the right side of his car. The car had been pushing a bit in the center. He came onto pit road leading. He leaves well ahead of anybody else.
Scott Riggs has led more laps today than his entire Nextel Cup career. Car with assist from the rescue workers there.
Man, he's hurting.
Yes.
He already had problems on the right side there. I tell you, it's your ribs under your shoulder blade. It just, he may have bruised them, but he probably finished them off right there with that wreck.
Well, it has been a horrible month for Tony Stewart. Let's go back 4 weekends to Talladega and the Saturday Busch race there. He and Kenny Wallace get together. Stewart was uninjured in this flyer. Just banged up a bit. Spun out of Richmond. Wow. This was last night right here.
Look at that car.
And this was minutes ago. A hit that used up the right side of that car and damaged Stewart's already sore rib cage and shoulder area.
Well, he's a tough guy, and he can take a few licks, but sometimes, you know, it just gets to be too much, and that looks like too much right there.
And Darrell, 2 of those 3 licks, they were in that Busch car. I guess there's so much talk about, you know, why the guys, Nextel Cup guys, run the Busch races. That's the downside right there.
During the caution, Elliott Sadler led a lap, and Michael Waltrip, shown here driving the car that was qualified by Derek Cope, stayed out to lead one lap before making his pit stop.
Now, we looked at him yesterday in this car when he first got in it, and he was all up against the steering wheel. He's still pretty jammed up in that thing. But Michael's 6'5". Derek Cope that drives that car is 5'7". So they had to do a lot of work to get him stuffed down in there.
And we want to make note, the two Evernham cars at the front of the field right now, Scott Riggs and Jeremy Mayfield, both of those cars did go with just 2 right side tires and full of fuel.
2 Nextel Cup champions, Dale Jarrett and Tony Stewart, out of this race. Next weekend on our Wendy's race menu, we're in Dover, Delaware with the Busch Series race, 3 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday, and the Nextel Cup race, 1:30 Sunday, both on FX.
The Monster Mile.
39 laps complete this time by Scott Riggs after the pit stops completed, is back out front in the Coca-Cola 600. Green flag as they come under our DLP Ultimate Picture Cam, floating above Lowe's Motor Speedway. Back underway.
Boy, Bobby Labonte in that 43 car, he got trapped on the high side, and he is going to lose a ton of positions.
Well, Larry, right now on these tires, this is, as we well know, this is the most treacherous time for about the next 4 or 5 laps. Got to hang on to her. How about it, Burns?
Well, DW, right before the caution, Bobby Labonte said his car was bottoming out a little bit when he was entering turn 1. Other than that, he was very good from the middle off. They made an air pressure adjustment to help that. Before the race, Todd Parrott told me that they felt like they had really improved the race car, but he was concerned about pit stops. As you guys have mentioned, they're going to be on pit road a lot, and he said their pit stops have been, quite frankly, inconsistent.
Well, I know a lot of cars have got their hands full on this restart, but Kyle Busch in that 5 car, I was looking back at him last time off turn 4. That car was all over the place like it was on ice.
These tires have a real soft, spongy sidewall. And so when the air pressure is low on the restarts like this, it takes them 4 or 5 laps to build up pressure to snug that tire up to the driver.
Riggs driving away from the field again. His teammate Mayfield second. New car that you'll see in 3rd place, and a new look. Johnny Sauter up from out of the Busch Series with his crew chief Harold Holley, driving a team car to Jeff Green, a Haas Automation Chevy with Hendrick Power, and he just rocketed out of that pack to grab 3rd.
Speaking of Jeff Green, look at Jeff Green in the 66 car. He's just going to drive by Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, takes the 4th position away. The Haas cars running 3rd and 4th now. That 66 car, Booty Barker, the crew chief, this group has been strong since testing started here about 2.5, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, these guys, I talked to them this morning, they are on a high. They said, man, we've never had such great times at the racetrack. Oh, sorry about that, guys. The 5 car just turned a little bit crooked there in the middle.
He has been a little bit crooked.
Your buddy.
Since the green flag drop.
When you did that a while ago, I grabbed him and I grabbed him again. He's sideways. He's sliding all over the place.
Not the first time tonight, and surely won't be the last.
But Darrell, all we have heard during the races here is tight, tight, tight. Car won't turn, car won't turn. I think the drivers know if you're going to be good on into a run, you're going to have to be pretty free or loose at the beginning of a run. You can't be too good at the beginning. You won't be good near the end.
The only thing about the long run guy, guys saying good on the long run, is it's just not going to be any.
35
laps, you're going to come in and do it all over again.
Now, a long run like Jeff Hammond had down there at the cutaway car, 65 to 70 laps like we used to be able to go here.
Or like the Busch cars did last night. They had the big tank, or the regular fuel cell, I don't like calling them big, the 22-gallon regular cells.
Casey Kane in Ray Evernham's 3rd Dodge, passing Denny Hamlin and Joe Gibbs Chevrolet, and that will move Kane up to 8th place.
When we talk about sister tracks, this is the same race car that he set on the pole at Atlanta and Texas and won the race, Casey Kane in the 9.
New look for Matt Kenseth. R&L Carriers, a family-owned trucking firm out of Ohio, is making their first appearance on his Roush Ford. Many here think that Kenseth's team, the Killer Bees, led by Robbie Reiser, with their consistently good pit stops, are going to give him an edge tonight, Steve.
And Mike, I asked crew chief Robbie Reiser that very question earlier this afternoon, and he said, we may have an edge, but we've had our share of bad pit stops. I said, have you guys done anything at all to prepare for these additional pit stops. He said, Steve, if they're not in shape now, they won't be. He said, I told them just to keep their routine the same. By the way, he said Matt Kenseth was not happy at all before the race with this race car, but he said, we've got all night to work on it.
Talked to Matt. He said, man, my Busch car was perfect last night, and my Cup car not anywhere near that good.
He lost an engine in the Busch car. Otherwise, might well have won that race.
Turn 4, guys. I got a car around. It's Ryan Newman,
who has not been very good since they dropped the green flag.
You're good. Didn't hit anything, man. Didn't hit nothing. I was coming about 10 car lengths behind you, Bud. You're clear. He's on the inside. Crank it up. We're clear, man. Didn't touch nothing.
For Newman having that spin, what a job to keep that car off the wall.
Yeah, he's got a right front tire down. He doesn't want to get too fast here. He can't get lapped, but he left both front tires are down. Don't want to tear the fenders off his thing or your night's done.
Well, Darrell, I know one thing that I did learn there in about those 8 laps after that restart, at least for 8 laps, which is just about a third of the run. 2 tires looks pretty good, like Riggs and Mayfield changed on that last stop.
See what happened. Yeah, Ryan, calamity corner. How many cars, I can't even count them, have spun off of turn 4? And he's just so fortunate.
So was Paul Menard to miss that.
Cars in the grass.
Michael Waltrip took the low road.
See where Mikey goes here. Yikes.
Front of you, right in front of you. Stay low, good job.
We just went down pit road.
I'll go this way.
I don't know what that commitment cone weighs at the end of the pit road, but when you hit it 150 miles an hour, that could have been big.
And it's been beat to death over these last 2 weeks. This is since the teams last made a pit stop, a little over 11 minutes. I still believe we're about a third of the way through this run right here. I think we will see a lot of cars hit pit road, possibly just for fuel, possibly just for 2 tires. And here they come, boys.
Larry, it's just a totally different race than we've ever seen here before. With these small fuel cells, they've got to come to the pit road every time there's a caution.
8 laps before, you would not.
No, you'd have stayed out. I tell you who did stay out.
Jeff Gordon in the 24.
Jeff stayed out.
Trying to lead a lap, get those 5 points.
Steve?
Jimmy Johnson, it's fuel only for the 48.
Scott Riggs is going to take fuel only. He's got a pile of people coming around the outside of him because his car has stalled.
So he will not get off pit road first. I believe Johnny Sauter is the first car off pit road.
We saw a lot of fuel only there, but again, only 8 laps since most of these cars changed 4 tires.
You're going to come to pit road every time you get a chance to get fuel.
A long stop for Michael Waltrip. They're fixing the damage from where he hit that cone that marks the commitment line at the head end of pit road. Ryan Newman coming back in. He's the car that brought out the caution flag. 49 laps complete. A good hands driver is Ryan Newman. We need to call the claims department on this one, as Newman keeps it off the wall and continues. On behalf of Ryan, Allstate will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the Urban Youth Racing School. Allstate, official insurance partner of NASCAR. Coming to the green flag at 52 laps. Scott Riggs out 5th, Johnny Sauter 2nd. Jeff Gordon did not pit, and his DuPont Chevy is the leader.
And again, he's got about 10 to 12 laps on this tank of fuel. What Jeff Gordon, Steve Letart's banking on is another caution here in the next 10 to 20 laps.
I tell you what else he wants to see. I believe he wants to see how good his car is if he could get out front, because he hadn't been out front very much here the last couple of weeks.
Kyle Busch and Biffle. There were some words over the radio as these two got into it a little bit earlier. Over the in-car radios, that is.
Still there, man. Still there.
Ooh, Kenseth.
Yes, Kenseth.
Start stacking up behind him. Matt in the 17 car. But the battle right there between Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle, that's a battle for 10th right now. Most all of the cars that hit pit road that time did fuel only.
Kyle Busch was not happy over his radio about something when he and Greg almost got together earlier. Big pack of cars here.
I think that was that little episode I was speaking of there that he got all crossed up.
Tony Stewart has been transported to a local hospital for the second night in a row here for evaluation. We'll pass along further word as we have it.
So Jeff Green in the 66, he just drove by Jeremy Mayfield in the 19th. He moves in the 3rd position. His teammate Johnny Sauter in the 70, first Nextel Cup start here in 2006. That's him right there, running in 2nd behind Jeff Gordon.
I just can't tell you how cautious guys will be right now. They've just got to, if you get on my back bumper, go on, get away, leave me alone. I don't want anybody behind me.
Darrell, how good is Jeff Gordon's car in clean air? He just ran the fastest lap he's run in this race right there on lap 55.
I really think that may be a method to their madness right here. They've been trying to get this car out front. In the All-Star race, he was back in traffic all night. I think he just wanted to see what he could do when he did get out front.
Teammates here racing for 2nd place. First-time teammates in the Cup Series, Johnny Sauter and Jeff Green.
He knows simply because Johnny Sauter in the 70 car, that's his car owner, Haas. It's on the car. Good race car. I think this was the first choice of Michael Waltrip, Bill Davis in that group to buy a ride. Johnny Sauter said, oh no, my race car is way too good for me to climb out of it here. And it's backing it up. But Darrell, that we talked about it at the top of the show. Yeah, in the perfect world, you have a night like Jimmy Johnson had last year. You lead 500 to 600 miles. But you want to make sure you're not too good here at the beginning of the race and you lose sight of it at the end of the night.
That crowd right there, that group right there, Larry, my gosh, they were 4 wide trying to go into turn 3 over there. And how they made it, I do not know.
And Kevin Harvick, we're riding with him in the 29 car. He's got a bird's eye view of this whole group. Now, Kevin right now is back in the 25th position.
And Scott Riggs, who started from the pole and led 35 laps, is backing up a bit now. Apparently his pit stop did not produce an adjustment to his liking. That's his teammate Casey Kane going past.
And I think experiment done here. Jeff Gordon's out front pulling away. Scott Riggs was out front pulling away. You get out front, you pull away.
I know it's early. Man that won a lot of races here with that guy right there, Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, Ray Evernham as his crew chief. Ray Evernham's cars are looking awfully good here tonight. All of them up there in the top 10, all qualified in the top 10.
Yeah, Ray's had a couple of good weeks over here, Larry. I mean, Aaron Crocker sat on front row for the truck race, had a great night in the truck race. Riggs won the Open. Been a big weekend for him.
And remember, when Jeff Gordon got his very first career win here in the Coca-Cola 600 1993, it was Ray Evernham, his crew chief, caught everybody off guard late in the race and just did 2 right side tires. Everyone else changed 4.
Look at this battle. Here comes right into the middle of it Jeff Burton. These 2 teammates were being kind to each other, and Burton just ran right up on them in the length of the back straightaway. And Mayfield trying to give Kane a lot of room, and Burton's there.
You nailed it, Mike. I mean, there's 2 guys taking care of each other, and here comes some other guy that says, hey, y'all are holding me up.
Since we're riding with Jeff Burton, here's the answer to our singular question. Did Goodyear NASCAR on the track make the right changes? We'll see. I'd say the jury's still out on that one. Remember, when you participate, you're automatically entered to win Jeff Burton's payday in Daytona. And
guys, the racetrack had to be repaved. I don't think there's any question. And you know what? Goodyear, because of a test they did here a few months ago, they had to come with a harder tire. When they came with a softer tire, the tire temps were over 375 degrees. If there's one thing the jury's still out on, I think, is possibly the 13-gallon fuel cell.
Watch Mikey off turn 4 here, guys. I don't know what I don't think he did the right adjustments on his car last time. Man, watch this thing.
Whoa. Boy, the Army car, Joe Nemechek had a bird's eye view of it, didn't he?
That's basically wrecking, right? He just about he said, the heck with it. He almost let go and just see where it was going to end up, I think.
Attaboy to Andy Mitchell, our Fox cameraman on that shot, getting right down in there with Michael.
This is what it looked like from Michael's standpoint.
He almost got behind on the steering right there.
Kyle Busch puts the Kellogg Chevy past Scott Riggs. The hood of Riggs' car has Lightning McQueen and the King, voiced by Richard Petty in the Cars movie.
And you know what? Watch Kyle Busch as he kind of gives a high sign to Scott Riggs. Looks like Scott maybe yielded to him a little bit. Still early in this race. But we watched Kyle Busch in the 5 so sideways early in the run a while ago. I think Kyle Busch, if he can make it through those first 10 laps you were talking about, he'll have a good car from lap 10 to lap 35 on these runs.
He was bad fast over here last week, and it looks like he's backing it up with a pretty good car today.
Jeff Gordon, if this race stays green, will have to make a stop before everyone else. We'll see how it plays out. 64 laps, 96 miles complete in the Coca-Cola 600 on Fox. Crashed and put us under caution for the 4th time. Watch the Miller Lite number 2.
Just snaps around. That's just what this tire seems to do.
Just like his teammate Ryan Newman on the last caution, just different end of the racetrack. Difference, Kurt Busch slaps the wall pretty hard in the 2.
Seems like when you tighten the car up to where the driver has a pretty good feel in the wheel, they want to snap loose then.
And the left front of that car is pretty well destroyed.
Man, big pieces flying off of there.
And Kurt has taken it straight to the garage.
And I'm going to tell you what, the clock is ticking for this 2 car. I know it's a long way to Richmond, but he doesn't have any more mulligans left if he wants to make the chase for the next Nextel Cup this year. Comes in here 18th in points.
Elliott Sadler comes back to the pits for a 2nd time. Little right front corner damage.
That's hot. That's hot.
Broke rotor.
We talked about making adjustments on these race cars and teams that really having to get aggressive at the beginning of this race. Watch the adjustments on Elliott Sadler, the Tommy Baldwin pit crew. It's going to be a 4-tire stop. You see the catch man put the wedge wrench in up there. Now that's the left rear, and you can see what he's doing. He's putting wedge in that car. The car is real loose, so he's putting more weight basically on the left rear and the right front to try to tighten that car up. Pretty aggressive with those changes.
Let's find out what happened on this round of pit stops. First to Steve.
Well, Mike, Jimmie Johnson said that his race car was a little bit tight from the center off. He's been taking care to arc the car in easy on the throttle, getting into the corners, fuel only for the 48 of Jimmie Johnson. Dick?
Jeff Gordon had not pitted on the prior opportunity to pit because you guys were absolutely right. He wanted to see how the car behaved in clean air. It behaved pretty decent, but it had a pretty good push with it. So they tried to adjust with a 2-tire stop. Matt.
Casey Kane having a very solid run this evening. Now, on the previous stop, they took gas only. This stop, they went with right side tires, small air pressure adjustment. The car was sliding the nose earlier, still trying to work that out of the car. Now let's go to the Hollywood Hotel and Chris Myers.
Yeah, time for a Visa race break. Scott Riggs, who led 47 laps, was your pole sitter. Dodge had 3 of the top 5 starting spots. We have 3 former champions that have spun out, 2 that are officially out of this race. Turn 3, the track hot and slick, and Dale Jarrett with some communication problems between his spotter. Spins out, some contact from Robbie Gordon. The 96 Coke winner out, lap 33 running 20th. Tony Stewart, who spun out in practice on Thursday, wrecked in the All-Star wreck, and last night in the Busch race, taken to a nearby hospital, was already in pain on his right side. We'll update that as soon as we can. Ryan Newman having problems on lap 46, coming off of turn 4. And then Kurt Busch, his Penske teammate moments ago. Jeff Hammond.
His car gets away from him a lot like his teammate Ryan Newman. Gets around, gets hard in that outside wall. But interestingly enough, when he comes back across the racetrack, he almost collects his teammate again. So.
And that is Tony Stewart in the ambulance as they are taking him to the hospital for further observation, getting ready to go green out of our 4th caution.
40 cars running and all on the lead lap. Kenny Wallace with the free pass.
Yeah, got Hendrick Motorsports here. A little domination going on. 48, 5, and 24.
All in the top 3.
Well, Jimmy's led a lap. Jeff has led 18 laps. Kyle Busch has not yet led today.
What do you think? Think y'all to let him lead a lap?
I think it wouldn't hurt, and I think you might could get by with it because you've got another teammate back here in 3rd. Maybe won't mix it up too much.
During cautions, the Hendrick drivers can talk to each other on a common channel.
They better hurry. They may not have a teammate back in third for very long. Jeff Gordon got way up the racetrack. Down in 3 and 4 is Jeff Burton in the 31, pulled right up on his rear bumper.
Per scoring, Jimmy Johnson led that lap, so Kyle Busch did not get that opportunity. And Gordon is backing way up.
Now, this is what we saw out of that 24 car last week. Could not run a lick for about 10 laps.
Tell you what, Jeff Burton in that 31 car, the orange car, he is a coming. It's going to be hard for Jimmy Johnson to do anything but just keep that 48 car out in the wind.
Jeff Gordon has fallen to 7th. Scott Riggs coming back up forward, moving up to 5th in that number 10, past Matt Kenseth. Add to that group the 9 of Casey Kane, the 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Sitting in 9th right now. Remember, he started back in the 34th position. And this is where he runs when the tires are fresh. But about 10 or 15 laps into a run, down in 3 and 4, he moves all the way up to the top of the racetrack.
And that tells me this racetrack has not changed. It may look different and it may feel different, but it still drives the same. 3 and 4 could run nice and high like that. 1 and 2, better keep her on the bottom.
Jeff Green to the inside making a move, and Casey Mears makes a pass as well. I mean, Darrell, we've got a really good 2-groove racetrack here for the drivers who want to test it.
Yeah, and several guys venture up there every now and then. Junior is the most consistent, but I go back to the Busch race last night, see a pass here. Got the
now Dale Jr. trying Matt Kenseth. Not that time.
Well, you got to be so careful underneath somebody off turn 4. Turn 4 has really been treacherous for these Cup cars.
Look to his inside. Here's Jeff Green coming.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth in the 17, he has lost 2 or 3 positions just in the last couple of laps. And there we talked about it. You can see pretty much that the air temperature has not changed that much, but just look how much that racetrack has cooled down. And these guys were practicing the other day in a track that was well over 125 degrees.
He's on your back bumper, Jim. He is not in.
Now, that was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s spotter, Steve Mill. There's good communication. It wasn't a threat to pass Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was just letting him know he's on your rear bumper. He might make you loose because he's back there. Good information.
He might make you really loose if you go in this corner side by side. 66 clears the 8.
And here comes his teammate Johnny Sauter. Let me tell you about Sauter. 2nd generation driver. No fear.
None whatsoever. Chasing the Busch Series championship this year, and this is one of probably about 2 Nextel Cup races he plans on racing in, possibly the Brickyard at Indianapolis.
Runs that car as hard as it will go. Second place, Jeff Burton right there, looking over Kyle Busch. .191 off into the corner.
And that's the corner that Tony Stewart drove off in early in the race when he went up and hit that wall right there.
They're going to have company. Biffle is coming and starting to fill up his former teammate's mirror. Greg Biffle in 4th place. Steve?
Mike, an update on that 31 of Jeff Burton as you see him try to get underneath Kyle Busch in the 5. On that last stop, they took right side tires, no changes. He said they were just a little bit tight in the middle, Dick Bergman.
Well, Jeff Gordon's changes simply did not help him. He just called in and said that the car is so tight, he absolutely cannot turn it in the corners. He is now riding 7th. He came out of the last round of pit stops in 3rd.
There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here we are about 10 or 15 laps into this run, all the way to the top of the racetrack in 3 and 4.
You know, one thing I noticed about that 24 car is I watch it go around the racetrack. It's nosed up a little bit more than some of the other cars. The cars are usually really down, sealed off against the racetrack. He seems to be nosed up a little bit more than the others.
Totally different racetrack. Finished second at Darlington. The race car was the same way there a couple of weeks ago.
Real high in the front end, and it falls in the corners, but a little high down the straightaway.
I asked his crew chief, Steve Letarte, about it. He said, yeah, it was.
Casey Kane coming like a train. He shot under Scott Briggs, and now he has caught Kyle Busch.
In the last 5, 6, 7 laps, this is the way he's been going around this racetrack. Right around the bottom, pick that throttle up, and just shoots off the corner.
That baby has come alive. They made the right adjustments on there, that's for sure.
Passed Biffle into third place.
Right now, he's about 2 seconds behind our leader, Jimmy Johnson, in the 48 car.
Sauter and Earnhardt battle. Kane restarted in 9th place 11 laps ago. He is now 3rd and closing on the leaders.
And he's doing it easy, too. I mean, just driving right through the center. That's where he's really fast, center of the corner. Watch him as he goes down the back there. Watch him close up on the back of this 31 car as he come off turn 4 here.
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty impressed with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Eury Jr. You heard Jeff Hammond said he talked to Tony Eury Jr., the crew chief on this Budweiser car. This is the same car they ran last week. It was absolute junk. It may have been the worst race car in the Next Day All-Star Challenge. They brought it back, and he got pretty happy with this car in yesterday's final practice.
84 laps, 126 miles of 600 complete the next time around, and Jimmy Johnson out in front trying to win his 4th straight Coca-Cola 600.
Former champion out. Tony Stewart 2nd in points, coming in, taken to the hospital for further observation. Some of the other drivers, Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, Kenson, have had problems as well, and another caution is out, Mike, for debris.
Thanks, Chris. This will be the 5th caution flag of the day. There's debris in turn number 3 as reported by the NASCAR observers around the track, or perhaps by a driver through his communication to his crew chief and to NASCAR. And there it is, piece of metal debris. Jimmy Johnson's lead of 1.5 seconds is erased.
You know, we had 22 cautions here last year. That was a record. You don't think we could break that record, do you?
I certainly hope not.
NASCAR gives the first car 1 lap down a free pass as of the caution flag, but with Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Dale Jarrett in the garage area, everyone else is on the lead lap, so no lucky dog.
And we're going to probably see them all come to pit road because we were only about 14 laps away from green flag stop. I think what we'll see now, there's a real serious looking piece of debris there.
That looked like a bead blower or brake blower?
Not sure what it exactly
It was some kind of blower. It's got a fan on it there. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
You'll see how debris gets kicked up the racetrack. Watch Robbie Gordon way up high.
Ooh. He just brushed the paint off of the wall.
Robbie Gordon, who once came within a lap of winning the Indianapolis 500, turned his attention to stock cars, and he has been exciting to watch. Well, we've said about every 17 minutes they'll be to pit road. Just about nailed that one.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah, you know, Mike, Larry, I've been worried about there be more racing in the pits tonight than would be on the racetrack. And we're having a good bit of racing in the pits.
Well, we talked about it in our FedEx racetrack keys. Keep that pit crew focused. No mistakes on these pit stops. And that's going to be real important late in the night. We're only about 1/4 of the way through this thing.
Matt?
And you see Casey Kane in the white and red number 9 running 3rd, pulling off 1st into his pit box. Now his cycle has been the first stop, fuel only, then right side tires. Now this stop they're going to be taking on the bottom left of your screen. They're going to be taking on 4 tires, and they're going to go up on the track bar to try to continue to free this car up. Steve?
Jimmy Johnson said that he's been trail braking to help turn the car, that he's just a little bit tight from the center off. Dick?
Greg Biffle pits out of the 4th position, and they made a very late decision to put a different set of tires on than the set that they had originally planned. And what a thrash down here on pit road to get the right tires in the right position and get all the right amount of air in it. Did they get it correctly? We'll find out when the green flag drops.
I saw every kind of strategy you could think of on that pit stop right there. I saw 2 tires, I saw 4 tires, I saw fuel only.
Let me tell you something that worries me, though. Using the brakes, trail braking, you know, that's when you use your left foot to set the front end. It creates a lot of heat in that right front tire. And based on what Zippy just said about Tony's right front tire, a lot of guys do that. And that could be hard on that little right front tire over there, especially that inside bead.
There's Tony Raines as Lightning McQueen on board his DLP Chevy. New tire, new surface, new fuel cell. Darrell and Jeff didn't have the new fuel cell, but they did have the new tire when they took us around the track in today's AutoZone Driver Zone.
All right, Jeff, all the drivers are raving about how smooth this track is. Let's see what we got going down into 1. Very smooth right there. Used to be a big bump right there. Where'd my bump go, bud? I don't know. I got news for you, DW. This right here is a shock man stream. All he's got to worry about is keeping the car at the right attitude, especially down the back straightaway. I like it, Jeff. It's good and smooth. I'm a little worried, though, bud. Only got lines around the inside. I wouldn't mind seeing some lines in the turns. We got them here on the straightaway or in the tri-oval, but I missed the lines in the turn. How about you? Well, the good thing about it from on top of the pit box, it really doesn't bother me. I tell you, I don't feel the grip problem that the guys are complaining about. The grip feels good to me. Smooth as silk. Look, Jeff, no hands, no hands. I'm not looking for that. Jeff, I am really comfortable. I believe I can do this for 4 hours, 600 miles, 400 laps. I like it, baby. The track is great.
Using our Richard Petty driving experience car, a couple laps around the track.
You know, and we were doing about 175 miles an hour around this joint, and that was in our driving experience with Jeff sitting over on the right side, making him a little nervous.
Now, Jeremy Mayfield was held for a brief period after his stop, and Casey Kane had to return to pit road. The 19 for pitting out of the box, and Kane had to return because he was missing a lug nut on the tire change. Carrie Underwood, American Idol winner, who sang the national anthem and performed a pre-race concert here.
I went out to American Idol last year to the finals, her and Bo. Gosh, it was exciting.
Let's go down to the garage area, and Matt Yoakum with Tony Stewart's crew chief, Greg Zipadelli.
Back in the garage with Greg Zipadelli, Tony Stewart's crew chief. First off, Zippy, you've had a chance to look at the car. Did it melt a bead or cut a tire?
It looks like it melted a bead, and we don't understand. As the car was driving pretty good, we were kind of progressing our way to the front. We had showed there was no heat. The outside of the tire looks good. It just around that bead, it just kind of disintegrated. Look at the brakes, everything looked like it was working fine. I mean, we were just talking to him. He was very relaxed, very happy with his car. We were a little tight on entry, but other than that, we were kind of making our way to the front. So I don't really know the Home Depot Chevrolet. We didn't qualify very well, but look, we had a decent race car. We really worked and concentrated on being good later tonight. They took Tony downtown to look at him. After the Busch wreck last night, he was pretty sore. He got out of the car. He was even sore today. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed, say prayers for him, and just too bad. We'll go to Dover next week and try to rebound.
Now, off to your right shoulder, you've got Mike Bliss, a former team driver at Gibbs. Are you looking at putting Bliss in the car to go back out and get more points?
Well, we called Bliss last night and had him come up here today just in case Tony was too sore to go. It screwed way too much on the right front suspension. The loads that are put through the right front at this particular racetrack, we don't really have that much to gain this early in the season. It's not worth taking a chance of hurting somebody else or ruining a race for somebody else. So we're just going to load it up and head home.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. We're back under green. And one of the tail end Charlies on this restart, as Scott Riggs gets away, is Matt Kenseth, who also had to come back to pit road to replace a missing lug nut.
You know, most every driver left foot brakes, uses his left foot to brake. And if you're not feeling very good like Tony was, you can be using that left foot on that brake pedal just almost to hold yourself in the seat and not even realize it. It generates a lot of heat on a speedway.
So we talked about that right before those pit stops, and there was 3 contenders early in the race that had mistakes on pit road.
Jeremy Mayfield leads the pack. He's now on the tail end of the lead lap after serving his penalty. Here comes Jeff Burton working to the front again, this time against Brian Vickers in the GMAC 25. Vickers led the most laps in last year's Coke 600. Burton trying to move up to 8th place. Let's go to his pits. Steve.
Mike, the 31 of Jeff Burton, they lost some positions because on the last pit stop, they elected to take 4 tires. Jeff Burton telling his crew, let's not worry with the chassis right now. Let's wait until the sun goes down to work on that.
Vickers in the wall off turn 4. Continues with just a little bit of damage to the right front of his 25.
Scraped the whole right side of it, Mike. Both right side tires all blacked up.
And he was running in the 8th position. Scott Riggs in the 10. He just climbed way up the hill coming off turn 2. Scott right now in the 3rd position.
I just know these guys would love to be able to get back to that rhythm they had there for a little while, where we get these tires heated up and get into a long run of 35 laps.
Half the track in shade, still the backstretch, and turn 3 in bright sunlight. Let's show you what happened to Brian Vickers coming off turn 4.
A little scrape.
Scott Riggs dropping back a little bit. Jimmy Johnson has passed him for 4th. And look who's come to 2nd place. Running in his final Coca-Cola 600. Mark Martin and Jack Roush's AAA Ford. Now up to 2nd. And he just recently ran, just on the last lap, ran his fastest lap of the race.
Now he started 21st. Today is Mark's 650th career Nextel Cup start. This may be his final Coca-Cola 600. He told us in an interview last Saturday night that he will be back for the All-Star Challenge next year.
Over 2,000 uniformed men and women and servicemen here as guests of Lowe's Motor Speedway. And a lot watching around the world on Armed Forces Network. Mark Martin, a fellow who has fans all around the world.
Jeff Green trying to win his first ever Cup race, and this is 12th race at Lowe's. And the veteran Mark Martin and Jeff Hammond. There's Jimmy Johnson, as you see. He comes right back. A little give and take from Jeff Green and Mark Martin.
Well, definitely a little bit of give and take right there. I think that's what you're saying right now is that, you know, Mark's a very courteous driver. Jeff Green respects Mark Martin. They've raced against each other for quite a while, especially down in the Busch ranks. And I think that's what you're seeing right now is good sportsmanship because we're still early in this race. You got to realize we got almost 300 laps to go. We've already had 5 caution flags, and we're getting ready to come up here, you know, since the last pit stop. You can see right now we're 12 minutes and 17 seconds since our last. We got trouble on the racetrack already, so we got another caution. Paul Menard right there around, Mike.
Spins without any additional contact, and he was way out of turn number 4 when that car went around.
Seen a few cars do that just as they exit that corner, kind of get up on the straightaway, if you will. They bust loose and spin out. These guys have gotten so good at spinning out, not hitting anything.
I just got a little happy with the throttle.
Got a little happy with the throttle.
That's a great line.
Well, you got to pedal these things. When the grip's not there, you don't just mat 825 horsepower and go forward. You got to kind of play with it. You see him back there. He just backing the gas a little quick.
Almost a mirror of Ryan Newman in the 12 car.
Yeah.
Didn't hit anything. Ooh, boy, close there with Dave Blaney in the 22, though.
Nice save, though.
Bobby Labonte squeezing by in the 43 car.
Booty Barker, longtime crew chief. He and Jeff Green have a history together, and they are out front right now. Booty does a little bit of TV work for our Fox Cable Network Speed Channel.
He's a Ray Everham graduate.
Yeah.
He worked over there with Ray.
The success of this Haas team in the early going, with Green leading and Johnny Sauter fourth. Not surprising, since this is a Hendrick satellite operation.
How about the TV guys always know where the camera is? You notice that?
And I tell you, talking about Booty, we've been talking about how this is becoming an engineering-driven sport. Booty Barker has an engineering degree.
Sharp guy.
Let's go to Matt as we begin pit stops.
Kyle Busch making his way back up through the running order, currently 12th. His crew chief, Alan Gustafson, asked him if he wanted to go with a track bar adjustment. The car had been loose on entry and on exit. He nixed it at this juncture. Look for the car to pull close to the wall as they go for a gas-only stop. And he's away to Steve Burns.
Oh, Matt, gas only for Mark Martin. He said the car is awful good as you see him exit pit road. He said clean air worth the bunch, Dick.
Booty Barker has called for 4 tires for his driver, Jeff Green, who came into this event leading. Booty has made the decisions about the adjustments to be made to this car. And oh my goodness, what a pile of cars have passed number 66 on pit road, because doing 4 tires surely takes so much time.
But the thing about it is, Dick, now he's set for a while. He can take 2 rights the next time, maybe 2 lefts. So he's good to go for a while.
But like they made note, the reason Kyle Busch, Alan Gustafson, the 5 car went with gas only, they put 4 on the last time.
Carl Edwards trying to get into his pit, knocks that tire askew.
But the good thing they caught that tire, it didn't go out on pit road, because it would have been a penalty.
Wasn't exactly the smoothest pit stop I've ever seen. Talking it over here. Now, come on, bud.
Keep that pit crew focused.
We only got to make 15 more of these things.
So we're under caution for the 6th time today. We'll have Jeff and Darrell take us through our State Farm safety report. We're getting set for the restart after this 6th caution flag of the day. 114 laps complete. 286 to go. Take that volume control and give it a crank. Martin stepping it out from Jimmy Johnson as Tony Raines comes to pit road with Michael Waltrip in the pit lane. And Jeff Burton 3rd and closing fast.
Now we know our top 5, Martin, Johnson, Burton, Biffle, and Kyle Busch, all took fuel only on that last pit stop. 15 laps on that last run when they changed tires. Jeff Burton in the 31 car, he just drives by Jimmy Johnson in the 48. It just seems like Jimmy Johnson's car is not that good right after a restart. Takes it a little bit to get going.
Probably not, Larry, but also he is being awfully cautious and courteous. He's trying to race this baby to the end.
He's just trying to keep the leaders in sight.
He likes his position, and I do too.
You saw Michael Waltrip with a long pit stop, brake problems on his Napa Dodge.
And Mike, Larry, normally we don't use a lot of brake at this racetrack, but I believe these guys have all figured out like we heard some other guys talk about, plant the nose with the brakes, and that gets the nose down in the track like these guys are trying to do all the time.
Waltrip will be the 4th car out of this race, joining Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Dale Jarrett in the garage.
We saw Johnny Sauter in that 70 car, drove by Greg Biffle in the 16. That was a battle for 6th position. Johnny Sauter in the 70 continues to hang out in the top 5, top 10.
And Jeff Green, his teammate, who pitted with the lead and restarted 19th with 4 fresh tires, has gained 6 positions.
Still there, still there, still there, fighting it.
Now Sauter begins to work on Scott Riggs in the 10 car. Bird post setter trying to take that 5th position away in the wheel.
Mark Martin, you see that lead. It's 1.5 seconds over Jeff Burton. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, and Scott Riggs, the top 5. 122 laps complete. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Featuring a layer made with Kevlar for rugged toughness and a comfortable ride. Mark Martin, your leader. Whether you're looking from above or below, and a caution flag has come out for debris on the track. Mark Martin taking the lead for the 2nd time on lap 114. We're right now on lap 128.
And looking right there, car's coming off of turn 2. And all of a sudden you'll see a car run over this piece of debris and it'll fly up off the racetrack. There it goes, just in front of Kevin Harvick's car. About middle ways, the middle groove right there off of turn 2, and NASCAR saw that and said, got to put it out one more time.
7th caution flag of this race so far. You're talking before we saw the safety report and the drive and ride with you and Darrell about this track and the surface here. We've seen a lot of slick moves and sliding around. What do you make of the way the surface of the track is handling? We're still about an hour and 15 minutes before sunset.
Well, the track is as smooth as silk. They did a great job paving the track, and I think after riding with Darrell and seeing and watching these cars today run around here, I'm believing this racetrack's kind of lulled to sleep. Everybody feels like it's got a lot more grip, and what happens is they kind of get there a little too hard, get back on the throttle, and the car just gets away from the tires. Do not hook up like they think they will. It gets these guys in trouble.
We're coming up on pit stops. Anything caught your eye in what we've seen so far with the number of cautions on the stops?
Right now, strategy, trying to get your own little rhythm going, whether you put on 2 tires or 4 tires or no tires. I think the way it's kind of cycling through, you're going to see a lot of guys that are going to be coming in this time. And you'll see here, as we look at, this is the summary as far as the night's pit stops are concerned, and what they've been doing as far as plus gaining or losing as far as pit stops are concerned, and that's how the top 10 of points have been ranking so far.
And Jimmy Johnson on top. He's the one who told us in the pre-race show, hey, when the sun goes down, we think we'll be better.
And that's what this is all about, Chris. You want to run that car on the ragged edge, but not get over that edge until it gets cooler here tonight. The track temperature is coming down slowly but surely, but under these pit stops we're going to see right now, if anybody, right now the pit road is still closed. I don't know.
We've had 9 different leaders, Mike, and 12 lead changes here under our 7th caution.
And maybe a miscue by Carl Edwards, because he has come down pit road anyway, even though clearly flashing lights and the flag were there.
A number of guys started to, Mike, but the pits are closed. You see the red light over there,
You can see the red light right there, and we're looking dead at it from up here. I know the spotters has a good look. Biffle almost made it, but he gets back out before that commit cone right there. But here you're going to see Carl Edwards in the 99 car.
It's like they call it right at the last second and say pit.
Now the penalty will be tail in the longest line, and basically with 38 cars on the lead lap, he'll restart back in 38.
And that's trouble, like it was for Matt Kenseth, whose team brought him back to replace a lug nut on the last stop. Kenseth restarted about 37th and has only been able to gain 5 positions. And that was a front-running car earlier in the race, but one small mistake has mired him down in the 30s.
And what happened there was no reason for the pits to be closed. I mean, the debris is on the back straightaway. Why were the pits closed? The spotter, the crew, everybody's thinking the pits are open this time by.
But that's the reason NASCAR, now they'll be open this time. That's the reason NASCAR put those big lights down there. And again, Darrell, the spotters are right up here with us. We can look and see that light real well.
Green light now at the head end of pit road. Matt?
Mike, a lot of conversation between Alan Gustafson and his driver, Kyle Busch, about what to do to the 5, because Kyle says sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's tight, and sometimes it's fine. They decided to go with 4 tires on this stop. It was gas only on the previous one. And they're also going to make a track bar adjustment. Going to go down half a round as he throws out his water bottle. Steve?
4 tires for Mark Martin, Matt. They had discussed not taking any tires or just 2 because Mark loves the tires, loves the car. Pat Tryson said, I'm not that brave right now. Dick?
And 35-year-old Scott Riggs pitted and took fuel only, and that let him exit pit road with the lead. He came in running in 4th position. He is having the absolute best run today that he has had all year. Won the Open last week, decided to not bring that car to this event. This is a bit of a different car than he had there. They think it's a better car. Gee, it sure looks it, Mike.
And Dick, I like that strategy on Riggs' part particularly because since the green flag wave, when he's had clean air going over both ends of that car, it's run extremely well. But when he's been in the pack, it has not run well at all.
Well, we see that almost with every car that gets out front, Mike. Gosh, you look at Mark Martin. He just drove off and left them. And we've seen Scott do that a number of times. He's got cars on the hood, but he's got horses underneath there.
Right. Let's go to Chris Myers for a Visa race break.
Thanks, Mike. Time for a Visa race break. At the moment, Jeff Burton leading Scott Riggs. Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 5th. Tony Stewart part of the story here on lap 33, running 20th into the wall and injured. Let's flash back a month ago, the Busch race at Talladega. He actually walked away from this flip and joked about it. The crashes continue. The All-Star race right on this track last Saturday. Into it, Tony was okay. The car wrecked. And then the Busch race at Lowe's Motor Speedway last night. Tony was taken to the hospital then for x-rays on his shoulder. Appeared to be okay. In pain when racing today before the wreck. Taken to the hospital for further observations. The 2-time NASCAR champ out of today's race, obviously. Hoping to be ready for Dover next week. This has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa.
Thanks, Chris. We believe what happened to Carl Edwards was not a mistake on their part because he had just come back to pit road for a second stop. So there must have been a problem that caused him to bring that car in early before the pits were open to all comers.
Or I think they just maybe came in to top off. Why not? You're going to be at the back anyhow. But I want to tell you what, talking about Chris Myers just mentioned Dover next week. I tell you what, that's a pretty physically demanding place too, even though it's just 400 miles instead of 600 this week.
Also hearing about Jeff Gordon. He's to the end of the longest line, had too many men over the wall, and he had a terrible stop on top of that.
So there's the pit summary. Mark Martin now 14th.
Reason they went with 4 tires. We're seeing a lot of cars like Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Burton went with 2, then like Scott Riggs that's leading right now that went with fuel only.
I think that's what the strategy is here. All different scenarios, but end up with good tires right at the end of the night. That's what you're trying to do.
Scott Riggs, Johnny Sauter, Carl Edwards are your leaders under the 7th caution of the day. The 7th caution, Scott Riggs, the Valvoline Dodge out front, followed by the 2 biggest surprises and maybe the 2 best cars at this stage in the race. Jeff Green and his teammate Johnny Sauter, then Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson.
And you know, Daryl and I were talking at break with you, Mike, and it almost appears that what these teams are doing, and we've still got 263 laps to go, but they're doing 4 tires one stop, fuel only the next stop, maybe 2 tires. This may be where you want to run this race backwards a little bit from lap 400 to make sure you've got 4 pretty good tires at the end, but maybe on that last stop you can just fuel only as Scott Riggs and the 10 did that last stop.
Because Larry, we keep talking about it, excuse me, you get out front, you're long gone.
Clean air.
And that's what Scott Riggs did on this stop. They learned their car was not good on traffic. They took fuel only to get it out front, and he is pulling away from everyone except Jeff Green.
But Scott Riggs just ran his quickest lap 2 laps ago on lap 136 of this race. This racetrack's starting to cool down just a little bit, getting a little bit of grip.
Oh yeah, we're getting more and more shade as the sun sets over here. Really pick up. And I think it'll change the complexion of the race as well. I think there are cars that when the sun does go down are really going to start to find their way to the front.
How about the adage, Darrell, in the daytime, race the racetrack. In the nighttime, race the competition.
I think that's a good adage, and I think that these guys, some of them are saying, come on, nighttime.
You know, the only thing, though, Mike, about racing the racetrack, if you race the racetrack, Scott Riggs, Jeff Green, Johnny Sauter, they'll drive off in the sunset, and you'll be seeing them not out your windshield, but in your rearview mirror if you race too much racetrack. Those boys are picking them up and laying them down right now.
But here comes Jimmy Johnson trying to win his 4th in a row at the Coke 600. Moving under Johnny Sauter, and he's going to bring Greg Biffle with him.
And we just talked about this going through some major changes right here. We're almost into the twilight zone where it's still daylight, but the sun is just about completely off the racetrack. Let's just show you what has happened here. Just look right here. 20 degrees drop. Not that much air. Once again, what that means, just more grip to the racetrack because it's cooling down.
When you said twilight zone, the first person I thought it was Hammond. I don't know why. And Myers.
Jeff Burton coming back into the top 5. He follows Greg Biffle to the inside of Johnny Sauter in that singular Chevy.
Attaway, buddy, attaway. My only had a brain.
What? 99 Edwards. Did he hit the wall at turn 2?
I believe he's got a tire down.
He had a tire down.
He's got a tire that's definitely down.
Run it out. Coming, baby.
The right rear tire is soft. You can see it.
Okay. Leaders and 1.
Caution's out.
Leaders and 1. You okay? Come on, you all right? Leaders are stopped. Come on.
Now he just has to get back to pit road and stay on the lead lap.
And not blow that right rear tire off the wheel and tear the
something.
quarter panel off that car.
That's only been 9 laps since that last restart, but once again, that's almost a third of a fuel run. I think this will be when you'll see a lot of just fuel only. There's not many laps at all on a lot of these tires.
And this is when you can have a lot of problems on pit road because you got some guys coming down there getting gas and getting out of there, and other guys changing tires. Could be a real big traffic jam on pit road.
Thought Carl got up there and got the wall. He did just a bit of it.
He did. He got up there and got real loose, and I saw him up there, and then all of a sudden I thought, well, I guess he just lost control. But no, here he goes. Tire definitely down.
The pits are open. Everybody's coming. Edwards did get in and out of the pit lane, and as you said, a lot of gas-only stops.
I did see Jeff Green, Booty Barker, the 66 car, do 2 tires only. Johnny Sauter, the 70, that group's doing 4.
And Ryan Newman stopped in the pit lane. He had to let Jeff Green exit, and then he was very late getting into his pit as a result.
Well, Darrell talked about that. Ryan Newman is running so far back in the pack, he's coming in his pits. Other cars are already leaving after their work.
This is a mess.
Again, Jeff Green, a 66 car, you'll see a 2-tire stop full of fuel.
He comes out. Whoa.
Hey, I was pretty impressed with what that group did right there, the 66 car. Let's watch this again, and then we'll talk about it. See, Ryan, but that's good. The alternative, this beats the alternative. Just stop rather than run into each other.
Well, if we hadn't already given Newman the Allstate Good Hands Award, we'd have to give it to him again for stopping, slamming on the brakes, and avoiding a collision with Jeff Green.
All right, I want to talk about this pit stop right here. Booty Barker. Now, the rule is the car cannot leave the pit box until the equipment is halfway back to pit road. Now, I want you to watch what this tire changer does with this air wrench. Now, here's the tire carrier. The tire changer's down on his ground. He just pitches the air wrench to the tire carrier. That way, he doesn't have to get up and run around with it. That's seconds gained on pit road. Pretty smart move.
Well, you know, that's something Booty would think long and hard about it. And how am I going to beat these guys?
I like it.
You can't beat them doing the same thing they do.
That's right.
Got to do something different.
A problem for our pole sitter on that pit stop, Scott Riggs. Dick?
Scott Riggs came in leading that deal, Mike, but they had trouble getting fuel in the car. They took no tires. They made a minor chassis adjustment, but the fuel just did not seem to go in well. And as a result, when the green flag drops, Riggs will take it in 10th spot. Lost 9 positions.
Another favorite has trouble. The hood is up on Jeff Gordon's Hendrick Chevrolet.
You know what I think they're doing? You see the guy with the wedge wrench right there. They're raising the right front corner of that car up as if it's bottoming out. But look how high it is in the nose. I mean, we talked about that earlier. They just raise it up some more.
So not a problem necessarily, but an adjustment.
Well, I want to go back to a group that I just talked about now. We talked about the air wrench, but watch this tire right here. See where it's laying? Remember what I said just a while ago? The car leaves. Now, there's an imaginary line right there. That tire has to be back there, and it is not. So he will go to the tail end, the longest line. Good move on the front. Bad move on the rear.
And it goes back to what we said at the top of the show. Make no mistakes on pit road. Don't beat yourself. Green flag with Greg Biffle out front of Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Denny Hamlin. Now in the top 5, Reed Sorensen, Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, Scott Riggs, and Clint Boyer. 3 rookies now in the top 10. Hamlin, Sorensen, and Boyer.
And you know, back to these mistakes, there's a chance of a mistake more on a 2-tire stop than pretty much any pit stop you can make, simply because of getting that equipment back and how quick they're trying to change those 2 right side tires.
And with the little fuel cell, you gas it up and nothing flat. So they're just things happening here that they're not accustomed to.
So at least 2 fast cars way in the back, Jeff Gordon and Jeff Green. Dick, what was up with Jeff Gordon on that stop?
Well, how many things can you change at a pit stop, Mike? They changed just about everything that they could. Gordon has had trouble with that car understeering, pushing since the drop of the green flag. And everything they have tried to do to it simply has not worked. Just before that round of pit stops, he came on the radio and told the crew, and I quote, "We are in trouble." So they have made massive changes to Gordon's car to try and fix it so that he can drive through the corners faster than he has been so far.
Well, Dick, so far on this run, it has not worked. He is trailing the field at the tail end of the lead lap.
Just think about that 24 car. He has 4 wins here, but last year he had finishes of 30th and 38th at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Not too good.
Last win came here in, I think, October of 1999.
Sorensen under pressure from Casey Kane. They are racing 8th and 9th. And Dale Jr.
Just remember, Casey Kane in that 9 car, one of the cars that had a mistake on pit road back on lap 93, had a lug nut issue. But right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., that 8 car, seems like they're keeping up with the right adjustments on that car every pit stop.
Thank the Lord for the nighttime. I think that 8 car is going to like it.
Junior moves up to 7. Just ahead, Kyle Busch in 6th, whose team has talked a lot this week about endurance and conditioning. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, we're about an hour and 53 minutes into this marathon of 600 miles. Now, Kyle Busch is under a new workout program, and he told me it's really sped up his metabolism, so much so that he needs to eat every 3 or so hours. When you look at the distance of this race, he's been very proactive, and he's planned out his meal selection. He actually cut up some protein bars, and they are on ice, so at some point coming up here, he felt like about the maybe hour and a half mark, he'd want his team to hand him a protein bar through the window, but right now he hasn't asked for any, so they have fueled up his car on the last stop, waiting to fuel up their driver coming up.
And nutrition is certainly a part of conditioning. You don't just run and run and run and work out. You got to have a great nutritional program too. I used to eat a lot of bananas because bananas have potassium. Cramps was a big issue on a hot night. And so all these guys have got trainers, they've got nutritionists they work with. These drivers are fine-tuned racing machines now.
I love your story about you told Barry Dodson give you a goodie. He wanted a headache powder. He gave you a Snickers bar.
He did. So I gotta have some goodies. So he gave me a Snickers.
Trick or treat.
Lots of different approaches to nutrition in the garage area. Lots of different approaches to this race. 4 tires, 2 tires, no tires, just gas. Greg Biffle just ran his fastest lap of the race a bit ago. He is out. Crash turn 4. Brian Vickers. He tickled the wall up there earlier in the race, and now he has knocked the right front off the car. Caution flag number 9.
Right front tire not even turning. All that cheap.
Sorry, guys.
He's had a rough couple of weeks. If you go back to Darlington 2 weeks ago, our last points race.
Hey, look at that right front tire. It's all cradled up under there, and it's just not even turning.
Former Busch Series champion. And
getting loose right there. He just starts getting out from under him. See Ryan Newman. Okay, which way is he going to go? Slowing down. Ryan's had to dodge a lot of bullets tonight.
That's exactly where Ryan Newman spun earlier, but Brian Vickers won't be quite as lucky as Ryan Newman was. Look at the smoke. Carl Edwards in the 99. Tony Raines in the 96 car. In fact, we'll ride with Tony Raines.
From Tony Raines, DLP on board cam.
In front of you now, right in front of you. Stay low, stay low. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Well, she's been about 13 laps again. I'd say she'll be a busy place.
Pit road, that is.
Pit road.
It's the gas station.
Matt?
And the cycles continue. Scott Wood has the gas can, the Sunoco fuel can on his shoulder, waiting for Denny Hamlin. Goes for a gas and go. Careful not to slide his tires and flat spot him through his pit stall. And he's away. Close call with the one of Martin Truex. Almost clips him, Steve.
Matt, 4 tires for Jimmy Johnson. He said that he's getting tight going into turn 3. They're going to take a spring rubber out of the left rear spring, which they do. 4 tires, Nick.
Well, Greg Biffle has had a car that has been handling extremely well. They've decided to put 4 tires on after discussing the fact that they needed rights and they needed lefts, and they talked about changing either rights or lefts, decided on the whole thing. So he is going to lose the lead on this round of pit stops, but he's got 4 fresh ones and a full tank of fuel.
Once again, every type of strategy you could imagine. Fuel only like Denny Hamlin, 2 tires like Bobby Labonte, Mark Martin, 4 tires like Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Burton, and Jeff Green, who lost a lot of ground on pit road in that 66 car.
Couple of problems. Kenny Schrader, the hood is up on the Air Force car of the Wood brothers, and a long stop for Elliott Sadler.
Raising it up, a lot like what we saw Jeff Gordon do.
Fireworks early for former Busch Series champ Brian Vickers. He's taken his Chevrolet to the garage.
Because 1 minute you're kind of at the bottom of the dryer, next thing you know at the top of the dryer. But the heat's always on no matter what. It's just kind of like changing and revolving positions. 1 minute you're leading, you come down, you change 4 tires, somebody else back in 33rd. All they do is take on gas. They go to the lead, you go to 33rd position. So it's going to be constantly changing as we go along. And Chris, we're on lap 163, 164. As you see, there's Dale Jr. right there coming down. Mistakes. We've been talking about it. Mistakes. Dale Earnhardt Jr. made a mistake, pitted out of the box, and he'll have to come back down, and he'll be held for 1 lap. That's a 1-lap penalty, so he'll have to work on his way back up on the lead lap. And this is exactly what we've been talking about all night long. You don't want to have mistakes. A lot of people have already made them. And again, I was going to say, at lap 164, we've already had 9 cautions and 9 pit stops. Well, we're going to have at least 10 pit stops before halfway because they've got to make one more stop before lap 200.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver, of course, has run well this year to stay in the points race, and his fans are frustrated.
I can hear them through here at the Hollywood Hotel right now. They're booing.
17 different lead changes, our 9th caution, and get ready to go green. Mike?
37 cars on the lead lap as we get set for the restart.
And Mike, it's unrealistic to think we're not going to have problems all night long with all these pit stops we got to make.
And not only is Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to be held a lap, but the field's coming to take the green, so he's going to go much more than a lap down, probably close to a lap and a half time he gets back up to speed.
The good news for Junior, the next car down the line, Tony Raines, is 4 laps down. So the next caution flag, Junior will be the free pass car.
You hear those tires squealing on that restart? These tires cry. They squeal for a couple laps so they get a little heat in them.
Denny Hamlin, the rookie. out in front at 165 laps, leading a driver that has led 22 races here, Mark Martin. And right behind him, Casey Mears, who came within a couple of drops of fuel of winning last night's Busch race. Crew Chief Brad Parrott told me they just had that one little air pocket in the fuel cell as the laps wound down on the final restart that kept Mears from winning.
Well, these Gibbs cars, Hamlin out front here, Gibbs cars have owned this joint through the years with Bobby Labonte at the wheel, Tony Stewart, and tonight that 11 car is right out front.
I know another car that's been up and down or in the closed dryer like Jeff Hammond was talking about. Kevin car. He started up in the 12th position. We're riding with him. Fell way back to about 30th in the early part of the race. Now he's worked his way back up. He just went by Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch. He's up in the 4th position, Kevin Harvick.
Brian Vickers has crashed out of this race. He's with Steve.
Mike, Brian Vickers sitting in the car. A lot of work going on to this race car. And Brian, I heard you struggling early. What actually happened there in turn 4?
Yeah, we were really loose, and especially getting in. I mean, for probably the past 15 laps, I was shattering the rear tires, getting in the corner and to the center. And, you know, the 12 car was trying to pass us, and he was right. I don't think he hit us. I didn't even see the replay, but I don't think he did. He just got, you know, got us added to the effect. You know, we were already loose. He made us looser, and, you know, it just kind of came around. I did what I could to keep it out of the wall, but he ended up coming back around and getting in those. I hate it for this GMAC team. You know, we ran real well here last year. We had a good car at times tonight, but the strategy, you know, people getting tires, not getting tires, it was just mixing things up so much that it was hard to always be up front.
And Mike, they're trying to rebuild the entire front end of this race car. They've taken the radiator out. They're going to put a brand new left front quarter panel, brand new nose piece on it. They're going to try and get this car back on the racetrack.
Well, we're not close to halfway, Steve, so with only 4 cars out of the race, they'll want to try to get Vickers back out there.
Here comes the 9 closing in on the back of Harvick right there. But Larry will tell you, Mike, you never want to load a car up if you can get it back in the race. You don't want to get in a habit of having things happen. So, oh, let's load up and go home. Fix it, go back out. You never know what's going to happen.
You know, we always wanted at least a 1 or a 2 or something in that win column, but one thing we always prided ourselves in was the DNF column. We wanted a 0 in it at the end of the year. But Darrell, listening to Brian Vickers, that's something we have heard for 2 weeks. Chattering the tires. The reason they're chattering, you talked about what they sound like when they leave pit road. They're so hard, they don't slide, they start chattering.
They slip. They just kind of slip. Watch this. This is big right here, right in front of Dale Jr. Down below that white line. You get down below that white line, there's a transition right there. Joe hit that transition and just about bumped the wall.
Joe Nemechek.
Same down below there when you come back across there.
Wow.
He's running in the 31st position. He was a lap down early in the race, had to make a green flag stop, but he did get the free pass.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 1 lap down. He made 2 pit stops. One of them had an infraction. So, a 1-lap penalty. Let's listen to some number 8 team audio.
No problem. We'll just remain cool. Got a good car. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry. Keep digging. We got it. We were way out of the mark with the handling. We got that fixed, and now we're going to fix this.
I like that.
And you know what? When your driver has that confidence about being put at the back of the field, you know, basically a lap down, that pumps the race team up. Right there, he's being a cheerleader for the race team. But it's amazing. We're not even halfway through this race. Already, teams, contending teams that have had mistakes, the 19 Mayfield, the 9 Kane, the 24 Gordon, the 99 Edwards, the 8 Earnhardt, and the 17 Kenseth, and we're not halfway yet.
Casey Kane going past the 17. They have traded positions back and forth, the 2nd and 3rd. About a 1.5 seconds behind Denny Hamlin.
And there's Hamlin. Got to track position, got out front, and checked out.
Kyle Busch has passed Casey Mears in the 42. That is 6th place, Matt.
He restarted 4th. He fell down to 8th. Now working his way back up. Now Kyle told his crew chief Alan Gustafson, I've seen some trends here. My car is tight. off when we just do the gas only. Then it's really loose when we put on cold tires. So they went kind of a middle of the road package. They put right side tires on the last stop, but his big concern now, the car 4 laps ago, the brake pedal went all the way to the floor. So some kind of braking problem now has the team concerned.
Thanks, Matt. Kurt Busch is back in the race, 107 laps down after repairs. And here's your race leader, Denny Hamlin. By far and away the leading rookie in this race.
5 of them in the top 15. But I'm going to tell you a rookie I've been watching. And you know what? This little rookie and his race team, they're starting to come to life just a little bit. David Stremme in the 40 car in this Lone Star Steakhouse Dodge. He started back in 25th. He has worked his way up in the top 10. He's fallen back just a couple of positions, but they just seem to keep getting better and better in this race and week by week.
Just ahead of him, another rookie. Joe Gibbs, 2 rookies, and champion Tony Stewart in his stable this year, J.J. Yaley.
And this is a backup car. The first lap he made with this car was qualifying, and he went out there and qualified 4th in the backup car with no practice. The only practice he had was the 2 practice sessions yesterday.
And this is his first Cup start here, first Cup race here, so he's doing a really nice job so far.
Dale Jr. a lap down as a result of a penalty, trying to get it back. There's a lot of folks pulling for him here at the Speedway, at home, and abroad tonight.
And I think when you look at this one right here, a lot of that was because of that penalty. Dale Earnhardt Jr. pitting out of the box, 1-lap penalty. But, you know, again, what plays a big role in this is what these teams are doing. 2 tires, 4 tires, fuel only. Now you see right there, 17 minutes since our last pit stop. We're at lap 186. We anticipate green flag stops in the next 12 to 13 laps.
To learn more, go to foxsports.com/NextelFanView. Casey Kane closed right up on Denny Hamlin and took the rookie right out of the lead.
You know, I'd like to see this thing go green for a while, Larry, because I think the teams would too. They're not really that sure about how many laps they can actually run on a tank of fuel. I hear numbers all over the place, 35, 40, 37. So I'd like to see myself how far they can go on a tank of fuel.
I'm sure the pit crews would love to see them go a full.
They need a little break themselves.
Yes, sir. 8 pit stops already.
Scott Riggs led most of the first 63 laps of this race from the pole. We had 3 early cautions. Dale Jarrett's crash on the first lap, Tony Stewart a hard crash in turn 1, and Ryan Newman's spin. Jimmy Johnson has led 24 laps. His teammate Jeff Gordon and Greg Biffle and Mark Martin and Denny Hamlin have each led 18 laps. Jeff Green has been quite a surprise. He's been out in front for 16 laps. Casey Kane has led, and we've had a total of 9 caution flags so far. Among other favorites, Dale Earnhardt Jr. pit road violation. He is 1 lap down. The cars in the garage are Brian Vickers, Michael Waltrip, Tony Stewart, and Dale Jarrett.
See Jeff Green in the 66 car. He's chasing down Bobby Labonte in the 43 car, and Jeff Green lost a lot of ground on that last pit stop. 43 car is the car he drove last year. You heard Chris and Jeff talking about it early. Jeff Green did not even have a top 10 finish last year. He has not had one since Martinsville, October of '04.
The car he passed, Bobby Labonte, may have some difficulty. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, he's struggling right now. Earlier, DW talked about guys having the front end or the front tires rather chattering. Well, Bobby Labonte has that issue, but now it's vibrating so bad you can hear his voice shake when he talks on the radio to crew chief Todd Parrott.
I am amazed and quite surprised how much brake I believe all these drivers are using to plant that nose. And I think that's where some of these guys are getting in trouble.
Carl Edwards back on the lead lap, closing up on Jeff Gordon at 24th place. You can see they're about 20 seconds. That's 2/3 of a lap behind the leaders.
But just thinking back to Bobby Labonte, Steve was talking about him. The good thing about that vibration is, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we're only about 7, 8, 9 laps away from that green flag stop. So you may see this car hit pit road just a couple laps early to make sure that.
So you're saying that's a good vibration?
Good vibration as long as he makes it to pit road before it becomes a bad vibration.
I'm picking up a good vibration.
pride of Enumclaw, Washington, Casey Kane, out in front as we close up on 300 of 600 miles. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Welcome back to Lowe's Motor Speedway, just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Fox, glad to have you with us here. The race, 2 hours, 22 minutes and counting, and we're not even yet halfway. A Visa race break. If we were to rewind and take you back through a busy day of activity. Let's start at the Indy 500. Sam Hornish Jr. from Ohio, owned by Roger Penske. His first Indy 500, passing 19-year-old Marco Andretti for the win. And Barry Bonds in San Francisco against the Rockies. Home run number 715. He's in second place all-time, 40 behind champ Hank Aaron. And Tony Stewart, injured earlier in this race after being injured last night, taken to the hospital for further observation. This has been a Visa race break, and no matter what it takes, life takes Visa. Casey Kane, your leader, hitting lap 200, and let's head upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike for another round of pit stops.
Kevin Harvick's already been in, Jeff Gordon's in, and our leader is in, Matt.
All the way back in 37th, back on lap 94, he's in. They're going to go 4 tires on this stop to try to keep with their strategy. He says the car has definitely been tight. You can see on the left side of your screen, Denny Hamlin, his team is preparing for him to hit pit road. He's now cycled as the leader. He's coming in another 2 laps.
Dave Blaney has been in and out. And here's Johnny Sauter in, Reed Sorensen.
Now this is where you can't afford a mistake.
Oh, no.
We've got a caution. We had Clint Boyer, though, that left his pit box without equipment being back across there. The 44 car was speeding, so right there in those few green flag stops, we had penalties already. But this is really going to juggle things up right in the middle of green flag stops.
Mark Martin rolls through pit road. So does David Stremme, Kyle Petty, and Kenny Wallace without stopping.
I'll tell you who else was lucky. Jimmy Johnson was on pit road, except he hadn't quite gotten to the cone, and he was able to get back out before coming down pit road.
When you got it, you got it.
Watch this right here, Larry. Here he comes. He's on. Go back out.
Heads up, I'm sure, probably by his spotter, Earl Barbin.
Now, Greg Biffle may be running out of fuel, we're told.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of cars like Kyle Busch in the 5, Jeff Burton in the 31. They're getting down on the apron because the fuel pickup is in the right rear corner. When you're down at 50 miles per hour, the fuel runs away. So they're going to have to run the apron until they get to pit road.
Clint Boyer caused this caution. Remember, he's going to get penalized for taking equipment out of the pit box. That was the catch can. It fell off the back of his car and out onto the track, past the exit of pit road, down into turn 1. That catch can, there's one there. That's a big piece. You don't want someone to run over that. So the caution flag had to come out.
And that was not good for his teammate Kevin Harvick in the 29, who was the first car to make a green flag stop. But I'm sure all of these cars that just made green flag stops, that went a lap down, they will stay out. They will restart at the tail end of the lead lap.
And that will likely include the man who was the race leader when he pitted, Casey Kane.
It looks to me like Casey Kane is getting a lucky dog. Is that possible?
But look at Kyle Busch in the 5, all the way down on the flatter part of the racetrack.
They're rechecking scoring. Remember, the cars are scored as of the loop, the scoring loop they pass just prior to the caution. And NASCAR officials judging the scoring, Kane was still on the lead lap when the caution came out. That's why he's being waved around back into his proper position. Matt?
He's had a great stretch here. Denny Hamlin, 4 top 10s in the last 5 NASCAR starts. The car too tight on this pass run. Air pressure adjusted by Mike Ford and his tire specialist on the right rear to Steve Burns.
They're going to make a wedge adjustment to the 17 of Matt Kenseth. Robbie Reiser smartly said, look for the green uniforms. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Greg Biffle is one lucky race car driver. He said the car is out of gas, and then the caution flag waved. That closed the pit. They stayed on the racetrack. The engine refired. He kept going, and he has just taken a pit stop with 4 tires. They were going to take just 2, but they decided to take 4. That was very, very close for Greg Biffle.
Now here you see the race off pit road. Looked like Scott Riggs, Rodney Childress, and that group. They'll gain 6th position. And you see right there, Clint Boyer as well. He's going to gain 3 positions. Now, this is the time on pit road, including the pit stop. But it looks like to me, if nothing else, everybody's on equal tires. Looks like everyone changed 4 tires for the most part.
You asked about the free pass car. Johnny Sauter was the first car 1 lap down at the moment of caution, so he'll get waved around. Cues and lots of major auto racing and other sporting events. But a weekend too when we remember what those who gave their lives for our country and our way of life have sacrificed. And we salute you, our servicemen and women, past and present. 1 to go and a lot of things to explain. Jeff Hammond.
Mike, you can see our Fusion cutaway car sitting on approximately the banking going around here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And what was going on with the guys running out of gas is when they're not at speed, they don't sling the fuel up to where the pickup is. Here's a 13-gallon cell. This is a little trap door that the fuel goes into, and this is the pickup itself. When the car runs real low on fuel and it gets up on that bank, it all runs away from the pickup. The guys in and run out of fuel. So that's the reason why you saw the cars going on the flat, trying to get to this pickup. Another reason for this last caution, catch can on pit road got took out on the racetrack. This is the probe that goes inside the check valve itself. And what happened, it actually got caught leaving pit road and got took out on pit road. On the racetrack, it fell out, creating debris caution. We just finished up, and I believe guys are getting ready to go back green.
Thanks, Jeff. Here is Clint Boyer's, or excuse me, not Clint Boyer's car. That's Denny Hamlin's car, and that shows how the catch can man is supposed to remove that can before it goes down pit road. A spring rubber on the racetrack, so we're going to have 1 more lap of caution before we go back to green. Our leader is Casey Kane, and let's explain how that happened. Kane pitted under green as the leader, and the caution came out. NASCAR reviewed the scoring tapes, and they have loops across the racetrack, lines across the racetrack, not just there at start finish, but at lots of other places around the track, so they can measure the car's positions. There's as many as 16 scoring loops around the racetrack. At the instant of caution, the field is frozen based on their position at the loop that they passed prior to the issuance of the caution flag. NASCAR judged that Kane was on the lead lap still. The leader had not gone by him to put him a lap down when the flag flew. So you saw them wave Casey Kane around the pace car to catch up to the field on the lead lap. Then all the rest of the lead lap cars pitted under the caution, and that's what's made Kane the leader. He's not the first car in line. There are some cars on the tail end of the lead lap, like Jeff Gordon, just ahead of him.
Yeah, Paul Menard would be another one. David Stremme would be another one. And those cars were cars that made green flag stops that actually went a lap down. Then when they elected to stay out because they were already full of fuel, basically, they're on the tail end lead lap. I know it seems complicated, but it's really not. But just going back to that catch can man we watched on the 11 car, you see all the functions he's trying to do. He's trying to catch the overflow fuel, open that probe, as well as take the first can from the fuel man after he's emptied it.
Oh, by the way, put a little wedge in it while you're at it. He's the busiest guy on the pit stop.
208 laps complete, 312 miles. Here we go. Green flag.
It's going to get pretty exciting right here because you got some pretty good cars up here. Tail end the lead lap.
A lot of cars fighting to stay on the lead lap. A lot of cars trying to get back on the lead lap.
The leader boxed, having a tough time getting out of the traffic he's in right here. Got to be careful. Everybody knows it's a great opportunity to get a lap back right now, the real way.
Still there. Keep digging. Keep digging.
Kevin Harvick in the 29, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8, they drove by Casey Kane, so they are actually back at the tail end of the lead lap right now.
And to me, Mike, I mean, they got a rule in other kinds of racing where you go, if you're on the tail end of the lead lap, get all the way around, got a great battle for the lead right here, even though it's back in the pack.
Hamlin is going to have Kyle Petty right in front of him. That's going to stall his progress just a bit.
But those guys are on tail end of the lead lap. They ought to be sent around and start at the rear of the field instead of having a race up here in front of the leader, I think.
Darrell, this is that first major transition that this racetrack has went through. It's still daylight. The track still has some heat in it, but there's no sun on it. Now, at about the next 100 laps, it'll go through that final major transition when it turns dark.
Well, we've already seen speeds pick up quite a bit. They're running low 30s now. They've been running mid 30s up until the last several laps.
So the cars on the tail end of the lead lap: Stremme, Menard, Sorensen, Marlin, Harvick, now Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon in front of the leader.
I've been watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 and Kevin Harvick in the 29. They have been fighting like cats and dogs, knowing that 9 car's coming. These guys would love to see a caution, and a caution quickly. Now, I know we've been following the temperatures of this track a lot because it's so important. It's the important element of the racetrack. If you just look, the air has not cooled down that much, but just look right here, almost 25 degrees, and I keep making the statement. The track's just gaining grip as it cools down.
Casey Kane has put Sterling Marlin back 1 lap down again. The Ginn Resorts, number 14. And Brian Vickers returns to the race after repairs to the right front of his Chevrolet.
Yeah, a number of cars are back out. Kurt Busch got back out as well. He's 107 laps down.
Sunset in Charlotte from the Goodyear blimp, providing our aerial views tonight. Silent armor technology with a layer made with Kevlar for rugged toughness and comfortable ride from Goodyear.
Darrell, you want to know one thing I noticed when we almost got through a full set of green flag stops a while ago before that caution came? No Fords were burned on that deal. It's like they were all about to make a pit stop, but it was all Chevrolets and Dodges to hit pit road first.
Which is unusual because Biffle and some of the Roush cars don't always get the best fuel mileage.
In fact, Dale Jarrett's the only Ford out of the race. We only have one other Ford that's a lap down. That's Elliott Sadler, his teammate. All the rest of the Fords still on the lead lap.
Watching Kyle Busch, 6th place, just ahead of J.J. Yeley and Greg Biffle. Let's go to Matt.
In the past few laps, Mike, he's lost 3 spots, fallen to 6. Now, during that caution, trying to use the benefits of being a multi-car team, Alan Gustafson passed on some information. Remember, we told you earlier that Kyle had the complaining about his brakes, passed on some useful information from their teammates on the 25, Vickers.
Good stuff, guys. Kyle, we looked at the 25's pads. He wrecked out. He had about 5/8 of an inch of pad left. You're just going to have to take care of him a little past halfway here. So just be conservative for a little while. Save something for the end. Yeah, SF4. I've been doing that this last run.
Kyle's guys are up on the wall waiting a possible visit by the 5 because Kyle says he's got a massive vibration in the right front. Not sure if he can ride it out until the next stop.
One of the reasons the guys are using so much brake is we've talked about it. You cannot drive hard into the corner. The tires will chatter and the car will run up the track. So I think the guys are driving down as far as they can go, slamming on the brakes, setting the front end, and then going.
Right behind that group, Dave Blaney, who is a lap car, and then Jamie McMurray in the Roush number 26. Now, McMurray was leading the Busch race last night, and after just a couple of laps, crashed hard coming off turn number 4 when a sway bar bolt
10-4 there, Jamie. You're doing a great job, bud.
got into the tire. So he went to the hospital for a quick checkup, waved off some personal appearances today to recuperate. So he is maybe not quite at 100% tonight. But here is McMurray in the top 10.
Yeah, he needs a good run. Badly needs a good run.
That was his crew chief, Bob Osborne, that has now been over there about a month. Just giving him a little encouragement. 180 laps to go. You're doing a good job for us.
Yeah, Bob is one of those engineer types, and I can't never tell if listening to him, I never know how. I don't know if they're running well or not.
He never changes.
He's like a dial tone.
A dial tone.
Well, it's not a busy signal, is it? 330 miles of 600 are complete. The young man from Enumclaw, Washington, that came out of midget sprint cars and Silver Crown cars, Casey Kane, pulling this train.
NASCAR on Fox approaching the official sunset here at Lowe's Motor Speedway just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Casey Kane leading Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson. A quick recap. It's been an adventure on the track. Tony Stewart running 20th, had to be taken to the hospital after wrecking. For further observation, he wrecked Saturday night in the Busch race and had x-rays on his shoulder. The Penske cars, a winner at the Indy 500, but the problems here with Ryan Newman, who just went behind the wall, and Kurt Busch, who was out. He's now running 41st, more than 100 laps down. 10 cautions over the first half of the race, 9 rounds of pit stops. Lap 160, Brian Vickers, who last year led the most laps in this race. The car a little bit out of control. And then Jimmy Johnson guessed right here, at least appeared to be.
Yeah, this one, that last caution, that he was coming on the pit road. At the last second, he realized the caution was out there. He was able to get back on the racetrack, maintain speed, and stay on the lead lap. You got to have a little bit of luck to go along with good driving skills.
Greg Biffle currently running 4th behind Jimmy Johnson. And as we look at the 13 leaders and 21 lead changes, the craziness of the pit stops has shaken things up just a little bit. What kind of gauge do you have here the rest of the way?
Well, what I'm seeing right now, the racetrack is cooling down, and the cars that were tight even at the beginning of this race are now way too tight. So you're going to start seeing cars like Casey Kane and Denny Hamlin come around here and start putting a lot more cars down laps, and it's going to really start getting ugly, I think, as we go into the second half of the race, about who's got the best tunable car for the remaining miles in this left in the 600-miler.
Jimmy Johnson, who has owned this place, of course, won the All-Star race and going for a record 5th straight super speedway win. And we should have pit stops. We've been keeping track every 17, 18 minutes or so.
Well, depending on how things go along with caution flags. But at the same time, we're getting close about probably another 10 more laps.
And the
15.
longest green run we've had here is what, about 38 laps?
We've had 38 laps so far on one long green run right there. As we see Jimmy Johnson go to the inside of Denny Hamlin and take over second place.
Casey Kane, your leader. Scott Riggs, the pole sitter, has led the most laps today, Mike, 63.
Kane trying to work over Jeff Gordon. Gordon was one of those cars that stayed out on the tail end of the lead lap and trying to hope there's a caution so he can cycle around. Ahead of him, Paul Menard, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Reed Sorensen, and David Stremme.
What Kane did was he'd been running kind of on the bottom of the racetrack. Wasn't gaining on Jeff any at all. Jeff Gordon in the 24 there in front of him. Moved to the high side. Once he went to the top, he has closed the gap down. He's about ready to put Jeff back a lap down.
And good news from a nearby hospital, Tony Stewart, after a hard crash into the wall on lap 34, transported to a local hospital, but Tony has been treated and released.
Look at that run the 9 car gets off at turn 4 when he comes off on that high side. Jeff just has to pull over and let him go.
Now Jeff Gordon would be the first car lap down. He would be eligible for the free pass. There's a car not too far behind Casey Kane and Jeff Gordon that was hoping Jeff Gordon stayed in front of Casey Kane. That's Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, because he was the first car lap down before Kane put the 24 back a lap down. Riding Harvick right now, sitting back in the 28th position, 1 lap down. Again, he was the first car to hit pit road on those green flag stops, win a lap down.
Slow car, Travis Quapple.
Yeah, something happened to him in turns 3 and 4, or turns 1 and 2 over here. He got to the bottom of the racetrack. Looks like he's obviously trying to get to pit road.
Travis, which side?
Right rear, I think, Darrell.
And that's a shame. He was running in the top 15 in 14th position.
You see the right rear tire's flat. The car just took off with him.
And that'll bring out a caution for debris in the back straightaway. And that is a huge break for Dale Earnhardt Jr., David Stremme, Reed Sorensen, and Paul Menard, who were running at the tail end of the lead lap.
We'll have to check on the free pass.
We're still a little free at the start of the track.
Now, you know, I've watched that 24 car. He stayed ahead of Casey Kane up until just before that caution came out. But they've helped that car some by the adjustments they've made on it.
Free pass. Jeff Gordon.
Thought it would be.
And I think it was a debate between the 32 car and Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, but it appears possibly the debris came off the 32 car, therefore he's not really eligible for the free pass.
Well, what a break for those cars that pitted under green, for things to cycle around where they can get back on the lead lap. Pit road's going to be open this time, Matt.
Casey Kane in the 9 had wins at Atlanta and Texas, the sister tracks to the Lowe's Motor Speedway, looking to rebound in the points chase as well. This is a great night for him so far. Look for right side tires and a small chassis adjustment for Casey Kane.
And Jimmy Johnson is in. He said, help me just a little bit in the center. It's a little hairy there right now. 1 round in the left rear chassis adjustment. 4 tires for Jimmy Johnson in the 48. They're going to help him in the center. Dick?
Well, Greg Biffle is running the top 5 all day. Interesting pit strategy. Earlier in the night, they had tried 4 brand new tires on the car. This time they're trying 4 scuffs, tires that are slightly broken in. The reason? They want to find out which set will work better for later in the race. If you were with us earlier in the broadcast, very early in the race, Biffle complained about his brakes. Moments ago, I asked his crew chief, Doug Richard, if the brakes are okay. Richard looked at me and smiled and said, I haven't asked.
Okay.
No news is good news.
28 cars now on the lead lap as we cross through the halfway point of this race.
Third time tonight. We have 162 to go under our 11th caution. And Jeff Hammond, as you look with Casey Kane second, Scott Riggs third, the Dodges qualified and practiced well, and they're holding up well here over this 600-mile race.
Looking really strong right now, Chris. I mean, you said Casey Kane maybe second, our pole setter. Scott Riggs is third. But how about Casey Mears? Had a really strong Busch car last night, the 42 car. He's running 5th. But impressive enough is the 19 car right now. All of Ray Evernham's cars are running strong tonight, and that's what's impressing me more than anything else.
And Jimmy Johnson currently running 7th as we get ready to go green.
Coming around to complete 239, the green flag will wave this time. Rookie Denny Hamlin trying to become the 5th driver in NASCAR history to score his first career victory in the Coke 600. Matt Kenseth, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, and the great David Pearson got their very first wins in this NASCAR's longest race.
Riding with Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. He's the first car lap down now, trying to get the free pass should we get a caution that comes out.
Scott Riggs back in the picture, 3rd place.
Ben, it reminds me of a restrictor plate race. Go to the front for a while, go to the back for a while. Go to the front for a while, go to the back for a while. And I guess in a way these cars do have restrictor plates on them. They're in the trunk this week then.
With the small fuel cells.
Right.
Right.
This is in the back of the pack as we got a battle for the lead here. Casey Kane in the 9 car got a great run off turn 4. He's just going to take the lead from Denny Hamlin in 11 right down the front stretch.
I tell you, with some good pit strategy there, that 9 car is going to be hard to beat.
And not surprising considering he wanted Atlanta and Texas as sister tracks to Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Wasn't much of a battle. I don't know if I'd even rate that as a skirmish.
Not really.
And I know Denny Hamlin didn't pull over.
No.
He's on the gas, baby.
Larry Mack, you're saying he wanted Atlanta. It looks to me like this high line here at Lowe's Motor Speedway is starting to resemble Atlanta. You can get a good, strong run off there and beat somebody back to the line. I mean, the high groove here at Lowe's is very, very good here tonight.
It's about to become Dodge City. Here comes Scott Riggs trying to pair up with his teammate Casey Kane. Hamlin comes down to the low side to block. Not anymore.
Yeah, Jeff, just to follow up on your comment there. 3 and 4, we always like to run high, and it's working again tonight. 1 and 2, still like to run the low line of 1 and 2. The tracks are just a little bit different in shape. 1 and 2, you need to be on the bottom. 3 and 4 works good up high.
Might be a problem for Johnny Sauter, who ran real well the early part of this race. He's drifted to the back of the pack and may have a tire going down.
I'm going to tell you what, you talk about Dodge City. Here you see Casey Mears, the 42 car. He's going to move to the high side off turn 4, trying to take that position away from Denny Hamlin. But those 3 Dodges, lap 244 of this race, a lap ago, all of those cars ran their fastest lap of the race.
Steve?
Mike, Casey Mears has been fighting a tight race car most of the night. Now, before that last caution, he was 11th. They took just right side tires, got him some track position now up into the 3rd position. Casey said the car is turning better now. They keep adjusting on that 42 car.
And Mike, you talked about it last night. A lot of rumors circulating around Casey Mears about his future next year. His contract is over with Chip Ganassi racing for Felix Sabato. So runs like this, he can put those rumors to bed.
He's the biggest mover in this race and could be the biggest mover of this season should he decide to go to another team. He and Chip have had discussions about a renewal, but nothing so far is settled. He's had a lot of interest.
Looking pretty sporty in his Busch car as well. Things looking pretty good for the young man right now. You know, Larry and Mike, I said something about this a minute ago. I believe the reason we're seeing more debris causing this year is high-def television. I'm telling you, I see things on the racetrack that I never saw before. And I believe the clarity of the picture and the high-def television that we've got now, DLP and all that other stuff, I think it's really making the debris jump out.
Plus, don't forget, NASCAR has a monitor now that is the size of our TV booth and the ability to call up replays at will. They have much better technology with which to see what's on the racetrack as well as us. Ryan Newman had a wheel bearing failure. That's why he went to the garage. We're told they will repair that and he will be back in the race.
Trouble going down in turn 1, guys. I think it's a 70 car of Sauter, and that tire he thought was going down, I believe it just went down.
Hey, you're clear, bud. You're clear there.
Caution's
Let it roll
out.
down here.
Don't think he hit anything, but I do think he's got a little damage there in the left rear down.
But Darrell, he's going to have a tough time. He's almost got to go all the way around the racetrack. There you see the tire laying against the outside wall. If he's not careful, it's going to come apart and just rip that left quarter panel to pieces.
I don't know, Larry. I think most of it's off right there already. So he just needs to get back to pit road.
We'll be back on the lead lap.
Now, it's only been 9 laps since we restarted after that last caution. We made note, most everyone changed 4 tires for the most part that we could pick up on. I would say right here we'll see a lot of 2-tire stops, possibly a lot of fuel only again.
And this is when we could have a lot of issues on pit road because of all those different agendas.
I think you're going to see a lot of fuel only.
You're probably right, but I tell you, they run over each other when they do this too.
Yeah, because a lot of them will be finished with their pit work before some of them even get on pit road.
Exactly.
Casey Kane will lead them onto pit road with Scott Riggs, Casey Mears, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Burton, Jimmy Johnson.
Now watch the 9. He's the first pit box coming in. He'll be finished with his pit stop. Look, you still got half the field coming down pit road.
The 13th place car was not even past him as he comes back out. A lot of near misses, and so far, I don't see anyone putting on tires. Yes, one car, Jamie McMurray, is getting tires. Everyone else, gas only. Casey Kane is coming. Scott Riggs, who's going to make it? Kane. Tires also on Joe Nemechek and Jeff Gordon.
And Scott Riggs has the optimum pit box for a situation like that. He's right down there at the exit of pit road.
Kenny Schrader will get tires as well. And of course, the car that brought out the caution, Johnny Sauter. But everyone else was fuel only.
Not surprising.
Let's recap with Matt.
In the 9, Casey Kane came in. Now they took right side tires in their previous stop because they wanted to use that run as an experiment, as Ray Evernham, the owner, looks on, as an experiment for what they may need to do later on as far as pit strategy. Steve?
Thanks, Matt. Just listening to the 42 team, Casey Mears came on pit road, fuel only, and they did a great job of getting him off and on pit road, the spotter, Tab Boyd. Let's go to Dick.
As the sun has gone down, Scott Riggs' car has gotten tighter and tighter, and they have consistently made adjustments to try and loosen it up by the pit stops. That time around, gas only, and a minor adjustment to loosen the automobile up.
Now, boys, the plot thickens because now everyone can make it to lap 400 on 2 pit stops.
Daytime, the twilight, the nighttime. 3 different races in one here in the Coca-Cola 600. Caution flags so far in the Coca-Cola 600 on Fox. A number of drivers have had a bad day. We've gone from daylight to twilight, now to nighttime, into the 3rd phase of this race. You race the racetrack in the daytime. Now it's the right time. We're 400 miles in, 200 to go.
Now you get serious. I mean, not that they've been playing around, but now all those adjustments, all that strategy, think we've got it figured out. It's time to go for the gold now.
You've tried 4 tires, 2 tires, no tires.
Well, I mentioned it. 11 pit stops already. Now these crews, the crew chiefs, they can see the end of the tunnel, as I mentioned right before break. Possibly 2 more pit stops. I just got to believe with as many cars we have on the lead lap, you want to make it where you've got a good set of tires and maybe just fuel only on that final stop. Get out there in that clean air.
Three Dodges in the front of the field. Kane, Riggs, and Mears. Number of top 5 finishes in the last 4 races by a Dodge? None.
None. Well, as we always say, the cream rises to the top. I think we're going to find out about that here very shortly.
Casey Kane passing through 160 miles an hour, exiting turn 2.
I guarantee you business fixing to pick up on this stopwatch.
We're going to find out exactly who's got what. I just got to tell you right now. And that guy right there, we'll just find out how much he's been holding back.
3 wide, mid-pack.
Don't look at that. Oh my gosh.
Junior.
Look at that.
Junior on the outside.
Looks like slot cars coming down through there. Camarama, baby.
Labonte and Truex trying to follow him. They were 3 abreast all the way down through the quad oval and again exiting turn 2, 3 wide.
And most all of these cars are lead lap cars.
And the thing about it is, now that the track's cooled down and we're in the nighttime, the traction's a lot better. You get a little better grip now. The cars don't move around quite as much. You can get 3 wide.
This is it. 145 laps to go. This is that final major transition. It's dark now.
Casey Kane and Scott Riggs just ran the 2 fastest laps of this race.
And we were running in the mid-30s, 30.5, just ran 29.68.
That's a qualifying lap right there.
This is a mess right here, Larry.
But Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car, we've seen him up there at the top of the racetrack, turn 3 and 4 almost the entire race. Sitting up there in the 11th position now, after getting a lap back.
He was coming there just for that last caution. That car is really good. Watch it right here.
If he ran any higher into turn 3, he'd be in Kannapolis, not Concord.
He's around the bottom in 1 and 2. He's at the top of the racetrack in 3 and 4.
Car's good enough right now, Larry. He kind of goes where he needs to.
Exactly. When he had to go beneath Clint Boyer in the 07 that time in 3 and 4, right around the white line.
Fresh tires, you can do that.
30,000 people here Friday night for the world premiere of the movie Cars. All of the actors that were here were introduced to the crowd and the voice talent, and the biggest cheer for driver 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who plays himself in the movie.
There he is, rim riding. It's like when he doesn't have to fight traffic, he runs the high line in 3 and 4.
Now Jeff Gordon got back on the lead lap, but he is 24th and not moving forward.
And they've worked on the car. You just saw it wiggle there. They have worked on that car on every stop, and I don't think they've helped it a bit.
Kevin Harvick just ahead of Gordon. got back on the lead lap on the last caution flag.
That car would drive me crazy. If he gets up front, gets out, he's all right, but he gets back in traffic, he is messed up.
Let me show you one of the advantages of having multi-car teams. Brian Vickers, who right now is 61 laps down. You've heard Steve, Dick, and Matt talk about teams using scuff tires. What Brian Vickers is doing is scuffing tires for his teammates right now, which is perfectly legal. They're putting new tires on. He'll go out there and run 4 or 5 laps, stay out of everyone's way, come in. They'll go to the 5, the 24, or the 48 team, whoever needs them.
Casey Kane, gone. 3-second lead. Just a handful of laps.
There they are. There you see the 24 team down there picking up tires, taking them back to Jeff Gordon's pits. Whatever it takes.
Casey Kane had problems on a pit stop at lap 97, had to restart 37th. He's overcome that, still in the way.
And you know, I don't mean to shortcut anyone else, because Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle, got Kevin Harvick
slow
in
down the
trouble.
back, Larry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's on the
dropped
apron
off
in
the
3 and
pace
4.
back there for some reason.
Just had got back on the lead lap.
I don't know, Todd. It's just, I don't know. Motor's running fine, but I can't see it.
Harvick 9th in the standings.
45 miles per hour down this pit road. He brings it to the attention of Todd Berrier, Richard Childress' crew.
Sounds like some confusion. I mean, he says he doesn't know.
And he's a lap down before he even comes to his pit stall.
But I guess what I was going to say before that happened, I don't mean to take anything away from cars like Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle, Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, but it just looks like to me, with 138 laps to go, it's the Dodgers versus Jimmy Johnson.
I think you have to look back quite a ways in the record book to find the last 1-2-3 finish by a Dodge. But that's where they're running with Kane, Briggs, the pole sitter, and Mears. Dick, what happened to Harvick?
Oh, a vibration, Mike, and that's nothing to mess with at this speed. So he came in, got 4 tires, and hopefully that vibration's gone.
Well, he's going to be close to 2 laps down and have a long way to make up.
Well, he overcame that last night, but I don't think he can do that against this group here.
Casey Kane has stretched it out to 3.2 seconds over teammate Scott Riggs.
34th, worked his way as high as 5th, but pitted outside of his pit box, a 1-lap penalty. He has since worked himself back inside the top 10. Caution comes out on lap 248, the 12th caution of this race. Johnny Sauter on the end of the lead lap. At one point, he was as high as 2nd. Right now, we have Casey Kane, Scott Riggs, and Casey Mears, 3 Dodges at the front.
They're all looking really strong right now, but if you notice, this is a 96 car. Tony Rain, smoke coming out the back of that car. He loses an engine. And Kevin Harvick had just gotten back on the lead lap, and all of a sudden he's had problems. He's dropped about 5 laps down, and he's headed to the garage.
You know, Harvick, when they talked about the fuel cells, he said tires are 2,000 a set. It's hard to know what you've got, how many tires you need. He said, I think it's kind of a joke.
Well, you know, Kevin's always got an opinion, Chris, but tonight I'm sure he's not going to be very happy about being behind the wall, having to work on his 29.
Casey Kane moving along. Our aerial images brought to you by Goodyear's Silent Armor technology, featuring a layer made with Kevlar for rugged toughness and a comfortable ride. You know, Casey Mears currently running 3rd, ran well in the Busch Series at age 28. You talk about physical conditioning and endurance, this extra 100 miles. He's a guy from Bakersfield, California, played high school football. He was a linebacker and running back with David Carr, the #1 NFL draft pick. Of course, the Texans, Houston Texans quarterback. And let's meet Casey Kane. Casey Mears.
Casey Mears. I'm Casey Mears from Bakersfield, California. I drive the number 42 Texaco Haviland Dodge Charger. Texaco Haviland's a new sponsor for me this year. This is going to be my 4th season in Nextel Cup. What I like most about racing is the competition. I think this is going to be a great season for myself and my team because of, you know, we're ready to win races this year. When I'm away from the track, I like to ride motorcycles and hang out the lake. I like all types of girls. I'm not real picky. I like blondes, brunettes, as long as they're cool and fun to hang out with. But the best way to describe my personality is laid back. You can catch me anytime when I'm off, I'm usually in shorts, flip-flops, and t-shirt. I like to snowboard. Just it's a good way to get away. I like the flow of it, you know, compared to skiing. One of my favorite movies was The Last Samurai, and my favorite part about it was their code and honor.
All right, so I got my Casey's mixed up there.
Now who is this we're talking about?
You're Casey at the bat. All right, so that was Casey Mears who's running third. Casey Kane is leading the race, but Casey Mears, and they mentioned it earlier, the guys in the booth, of course, Chip Ganassi would like to re-sign him. He's been mentioned as Robert Yates has an opening after this year, and they'd like to reel him in if at all possible.
Well, he's showing a lot of talent so far this year. He's showing he can get up on the wheel, get up in that top 10, solid on the super speedways, and tonight, this whole weekend, basically here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, he's shown he can get the job done both on the Busch Series as well as the Nextel Cup ranks. And now you see right there Kevin Harvick climbing from his car. They've already got that car up on jack stands. Undoubtedly, he's got something, maybe a miss in the transmission or drivetrain. I see the guys underneath in that area working on the car, so they're probably going to affect repairs and try to get him back out on the racetrack. But in the meantime, there's Jeff Burton, his teammate, putting some pressure on Casey Mears right there for third position right there, and he gets that position from him.
You got my problem.
Oh, yeah.
A battle for third.
Sitting way too close to you.
Kevin Harvick, though, is from, listen to this segue, from Bakersfield, California, where Casey Mears is from. All right, let's check it right. Let's check in with Steve.
Nicely done, Chris. Back in the garage with Kevin Harvick, and Kevin, the gut transmission looks like they're replacing it. Is that the problem?
Yeah, the tailpipe's busted and burnt the transmission up. So once again, one of those freak things. Last week it was a rocking radiator, and this week the pipe's busted. You just don't ever hear that stuff happen. But we'll keep digging. Our recent Chevrolet was good. Just I made a mistake in the beginning and got all our track position back and went south. So we'll be fine.
Thanks, Kevin. Let's go back upstairs to Mike.
Thanks, Steve. Harvick will fall from 9th to at least 11 in the points if they can't get that car back out there.
And that, look at Kevin. I mean, he looks really exhausted. I mean, he looks tired. Racing last night and then here again tonight in these hot conditions. You can tell he's been doing a pretty hard day's work.
But he's right in what he said. He had 5 out of 6 races, top 10 finishes, had the radiator problem at Darlington and transmission problem here, and he's going to fall out of the top 10 in points probably when it's all said and done.
Casey Kane on his way to perhaps leading the most laps, something he has not done since Richmond a year ago May, the only race in 2005 in which he led the most laps. He's out in front of Scott Riggs by 2.7 seconds. Jeff Burton, Casey Mears, Jimmy Johnson, your top 5. Robbie Gordon in that 7 has been giving Casey Kane fits as a couple of cars jump onto pit road. Martin Truex, Joe Nemechek, and Ryan Newman, who is back in the race after being behind the wall with wheel bearing trouble. We're told they're replacing Kevin Harvick's transmission, and he'll come back into the race when that's done. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson, last year's winner, in the pits in front of Steve.
And Mike, Jimmy Johnson saying his car is a little snug, and it's definitely gotten tighter in the middle. Chad Canal says we're pretty far off from what that 9 car is running. We're going to take a pretty big swing at this with a pretty big adjustment. That's something they've done consistently here, Matt.
And the leader, Casey Kane, pulls to a stop. His brake rotor is just red hot. You can see the crew member blow the brake down stout. Casey was concerned whether he was using too much brake earlier. They've already made the track bar adjustment. Casey had gas only on the previous stop. He's away. Decent stop for the Dodge boys. Mike?
A lot of pit stops. Greg Biffle and Travis Kvapil. Jeff Gordon's come down pit road. Here's Jeff Green, Reed Sorensen, Clint Boyer, Sterling Marlin, Scott Riggs, and Jeff Burton, all on pit road.
These are all scheduled stops. You know what? A lot of these teams got away with mistakes early on green flag stops. You better not have one now.
Steve?
The 31 of Jeff Burton as he came off the racetrack running third by Joy. They've talked about 2 tires or 4 tires. They're going to go with just right side tires on the 31. Dick?
Scott Riggs has been warned about his speed coming down pit road. This crew doesn't get on television a lot, but I'm going to tell you what, today they have been absolutely flawless. No mistakes by crew, no mistakes by driver either. They've got the best pit stall in the place. It is the very first one on pit road. No one ever parks in front of them.
Mears, Mayfield, Hamlin, all making stops. Matt Kenseth picks up the lead. Kenny Schrader's in. Robbie Gordon, Scott Wimmer, Terry Labonte, and J.J. Yaley coming out. Carl Edwards coming in along with Bobby Labonte.
And I think the method to the madness with Matt Kenseth, Robbie Reiser, the 17 car, they wanted to stay out and get 5 points for lead, and that's the first time he's led tonight. And with the problems Tony Stewart has had, Matt Kenseth very well at least will move up to the second place in points. Looks like he's on pit road now with the 17 car after getting his 5 points.
Dave Blaney's in, and so is Elliott Sadler. Here's Kenseth coming. Jamie McMurray picks up the lead. Here's Steve.
Matt Kenseth on pit road. They're going to drop air pressures on the left side tires. Matt Kenseth saying that race car is just too tight. You see in the upper right-hand corner, they'll take 4 tires on that number 17 Ford of Matt Kenseth.
Joe Nemechek in and out. And Terry Labonte into the pits as this round of green flag stops continues.
I tell you what, getting on pit road, it's been a thrill to watch. I mean, every time somebody tries to get down here, they've been smoking tires. This is one of the best, though. Watch this 40 car right here come on pit road, right in front of Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, the entrance to pit road here is almost just past the center of turn 4.
He wanted to go to pit road, but he couldn't.
Kevin Harvick back in the race after transmission replacement. And Jamie McMurray picked up the lead but did not stay out on the racetrack to officially lead a lap of this race. He came in for fuel. Time for our next singular question. Will Jimmy Johnson tie Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip for wins at Lowe's Motor Speedway? With 5 in the Coke 600 and a total of 6 overall wins at this track. Green flag, pit stops complete. Casey Kane back out front. 8-4.
And the Coca-Cola 600 delivered by UPS. UPS delivers the chance to manage your own free fantasy auto racing team, and you can win a couple of tickets to any Fox broadcast race. Just go to foxsports.com, keyword UPS. 600-mile marathon, 3 hours, 32 minutes, and counting. And Casey Kane, Mike, has led the most laps of any race this year for him, and we are less than 100 laps to go.
150 miles left to race here at Lowe's Motor Speedway north of Charlotte, Chris. And this is the longest green flag run of the race. 50 consecutive laps. We've now run under green with Kane once again out front and pulling away. We talked to Casey Kane about how you pace yourself in a race of this length.
I think you'll find the first 400, 500 miles where drivers are conservative and taking care of their race cars, and then I think it'll be a light switch, and it'll be, it'll be on. It'll be back like the All-Star race. Everybody going for it late in the 600, and at that point we need to have our car perfect. We need to have it handling just where we want it, and hopefully we'll have a good shot in our Dodge dealers UAW Dodge Charger.
Well, the green flag pit stops have left us with only 19 cars on the lead lap, and the caution waves for the 13th time tonight. There's debris in turn 2. Kane's lead of 2.5 seconds over his teammate Scott Riggs is erased, and these pit crews go to work once again.
Now, what'll be interesting, it's only been about 10 or 12 laps since most of these teams pitted, and most of them, for the most part, took 4 tires under that green flag stop. So we may be back to once again either seeing just some fuel only or possibly some right side tires. But the other equation, the other side of that, this may be where you want to take 4 again, where you maybe only have to take 2 or fuel only the next stop or 2 later on in the race.
I think I'd get me 4 now, Larry, because I don't want to end up with bad tires at the end of the race. I want to end up with good tires at the end of the race. And I also want to be in a position to do whatever I need to do to stay out front.
A lot of strategy discussion going on here.
Because we've seen it all night long. You get out front, you walk the dog. just leave everybody in the dust.
Pit road will be open. Casey Kane coming to Matt Yoakum.
Less than 100 laps to go. Casey Kane making his way to his pit box. They debated back and forth. Casey made the call. He wanted to go with a track bar adjustment. The car real tight on lane exit. Just a little too tight in the center. 2 tires for him, and he's away. A little hesitation there to Steve Burns.
Matt, the 31 in, they discussed a couple different scenarios, but fuel only on the 31. Crew Chief Scott Miller didn't want to lose track position, Dick.
Well, Scott Riggs has never won a points-paying Nextel Cup race. Tonight may well be his best chance. He has finished high as second in one of these things. He has just taken 2 tires. He pitted out of second position. He will not be leading when they get the green flag. A couple of cars have beaten him off pit road.
Well, you're going to see the race off pit road right here. You're going to see Casey Mears, Mark Martin gains 4th position. Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus lost 5. Why? They elected to get their 4 tires right here on that 48 car. That's the time on pit road, including the stop right there.
Robbie Gordon gets the free pass. And that'll give us 21 cars on the lead lap when we restart. Trying for his 4th straight. He's in 10th position. Jeff Burton's Chevrolet will lead them down for this restart. Ahead of Casey Mears' Dodge, Mark Martin's Ford, Kyle Busch, Scott Riggs, Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeremy Mayfield.
This could be a very interesting restart. We've got a lot of lap down cars to the inside, a lot of different agendas on the lead lap cars. Fuel only 2 tires like Jimmy Johnson, 4 tires on the 48 car. Well, we know the man leading the race, Jeff Burton in the 31, did fuel only.
As we've seen since the start of this race, 1 car out front getting clean air over the nose and the rear spoiler can pull away. This time it's Jeff Burton. Everyone else fights for scraps, like Johnson going 3 wide there.
Yeah, he's taking advantage of those 4 fresh tires right now, and he's going where he needs to, past them when he catches them, mostly on the bottom of the racetrack.
And you know, guys, that pit stop was on lap 306. The magic number is 324 to get to the end with only 1 stop. So still they can't make it on 1 stop.
Look at that, Larry. Casey right here in the 9 car, he's kind of boxed in right now. He's got a fast car, but he can't get anywhere to go.
And he did 2 tires. The car behind him, Matt Kenseth in the 17, did fuel only. Looks like he's paying the price here as Dale Earnhardt Jr. just going to drive by on the high side. And it's not that it's fresh tires, it's cold tires. I think that's what makes the difference. Cold tires with the pressures down.
How about our singular virtual crew chief question? Will Jimmy Johnson win tonight?
Oh, wreck. Big
Kyle
wreck.
Busch.
A lot of cars.
Casey Mears in the 42 car, he's going to spin.
He hit the wall real hard, Larry. 42 did, 5 did.
A lot of damage to that 42 car.
A lot of damage to that 5 car.
Kyle Busch spun and hit the wall a ton.
That car
He's okay.
Definitely crashed.
He's got the window net down. That's a signal to the track workers that he is all right. But his night's over.
Rowdy Busch has done rowdied on down.
Remember, Kyle came in here 7th in the Nextel Cup points.
Watch Casey Kane.
42 just wiggles a little bit.
Gets into the 5, turns him to the outside wall. You see back there Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car, just almost locking it down, coming to a stop.
Casey Kane does a great job right here. Doesn't panic, lets him go, gasses, good job.
Ready to lead.
So not a lot of apparent damage to Mears' car, but when he caught Kyle Busch, it turned Kyle hard into the outside wall. He's okay.
Quite a bit of damage to the back of that 42 car.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's upset, but the picture showed Casey Mears just got loose.
Casey was not trying to hit him.
No, not at all. And I think when Kyle goes back and watches the replay, he'll realize that, you know, nothing was done intentional by Casey Mears.
But look at the rear spoiler on Mears number 42. It's standing straight up as a result of that crash damage. That can't be good. Casey and his crew chief, or excuse me, Kyle Busch and his crew chief have been invited to have a discussion in the Oval Office. That's the Nextel Cup officials trailer after the race.
Yeah, Rick, Mr. Hendrick may have to join his young driver there.
I don't blame him for being frustrated at being out of the race, but as we've discussed, I think his anger was perhaps misdirected.
Certainly nothing that Casey Mears, he just gets loose and the car starts to spin, goes up, hits the wall, and of course when it bounces right into Kyle, and that turns him head on hard. That is a really hard lick on the left side there that he took.
Boy, Casey almost got into the right rear of his teammate David Strimmy in that 40 car.
I think there was contact.
You know, those Hans devices are not cheap.
No, they are not cheap. I have bought a couple of them.
Yeah.
About $900 there?
Exactly. Close to $1,000, yeah.
Worth every penny.
Very much so.
Donnie Wingo looking over his wrecked car here to see what he's got to do to get back out. Car's damaged.
Meet it at the bottom. Meet it at the bottom. Get your hammer. Where's your hammer?
Now, right now, Casey is still on the lead
Get
lap.
tires on. Get tires on. Get tires on. Tires on. Hurry up. Come on.
Field is over in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
Go. Let's go.
So he'll come back in next time around.
Now, pit road is actually still closed, but of course the 42 made a smart move by pitting early, trying to get as much repair to that car done. The penalty, of course, tail end along this line. You can see right there, pit road still closed.
Joe Nemechek gets the free pass on this, the 14th caution of the night.
Now, I don't necessarily want to talk about Kevin Harvick. I want to talk about Todd Berrier and his crew, and I'm going to go to my compadre, Jeff Hammond. Jeff, those guys are 28 laps down. We made a note that they changed that transmission. They lost about 3 or 4 laps before they even began the transmission change. And remember, it was all green flag laps. Jeff Hammond, that's about 11 or 12 minutes. Not only is it complicated, but it was a hot process as well.
Yeah, Larry, I want to show you right here. Inside the transmission, here's all the gears. And what happened was the grease got hot, it boiled, the transmission galled up and eventually failed. And what these guys were able to do, my friend, is they came in. First off, here's all the exhaust pipes that were broken that got the transmission hot. They removed all the transmission bolts, dropped the suspender as far as the suspension deal holds the transmission in, had to drop the drive shaft also. They pulled all this stuff out of the way. Again, these tailpipes are in excess of 1,000 degrees, and this transmission also was probably somewhere about 700 or 800 degrees. They pulled this out, put a new one in, replaced every bit of this stuff, again, in 11 minutes. That's what you call teamwork. That's what makes these guys so special.
And Jeff, of course, that was one of the things that we always orchestrated, kind of a what-if type list. Pit road is busy, boys.
Matt?
Casey Kane says we need to make a decent size adjustment because the car is as tight as it has been all night. Kenny Francis calling for a significant wedge adjustment and possible, they talked about air pressure adjustment for their final stop coming up. Steve?
Matt, Jeff Burton back on pit road with the lead. Last time they took fuel only. This time the strategy is they're going to take 4 tires. They know later in this race, towards the end, they can do it on 2 tires or no tires. So 4 tires for Jeff Burton, Dick.
Scott Riggs, no tires at all, just fuel. He came into this thing in second position. Riggs back out on the racetrack.
The first car off pit road, Mark Martin, took gas only.
Yeah, and one of the gambles, and that's why I almost like no tires better than I do 2 tires. You get 2 tires like Kane did, now your car's too tight, can't drive it. I think that's a real problem that you could have taking 2 tires.
And what we may see, when we get the 1 to go here, we may see some cars topped off then maybe you can do it on one more stop possibly.
Have you ever seen so many different strategies on one night?
No, we never have.
83 laps to go. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Casey Kane as we get set to come back to green. Now, talk about crank it up. Here's a crank it up for you on Martin Truex's car.
They've got a wrench in every hole on that back window. But since the one car, the winners of the Nextel All-Star Pit Crew Challenge, cranked it up, what do you think, boys?
It's time.
Let's do it. Let's crank it up.
Green flag, green flag.
Some bad news for the rest of this field. Casey Kane just ran the fastest lap of the night, but 5 cars, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., just ran their individual fastest laps of this race.
Difference, Casey Kane's lap is in his own zip code. It would have qualified him about mid-pack on Thursday night.
Scott Riggs has closed right up to the leader. Riggs won the pole. They are teammates. How hard will they run each other? Dale Earnhardt Jr. almost got lapped before the lap 236 caution. Restarted 20th. He has climbed to the top 5. Dick Bergman.
Well, Junior and company have really struggled here, Mike. In testing and last week in the All-Star event, the car just did not run well at all. So they went back to basics. Now, a lot of the teams, including Junior, have been running what's called a coil bind setup. Essentially, what happens is the car goes in the corner, the springs bottom out, there's no suspension other than the tires. They got rid of that setup for tonight in Junior's car, and that's what has turned this team on. That's what brought this car back to life. They've gone back to the old setup, and guess what? It's working.
But Dick and DW are back to an old-style tire that we used to run here for so many years. A little harder tire, doesn't have as much grip as that new grippier tire.
I tell you, that coil bind thing takes hours and hours and hours of figuring out, and it's it's like walking a razor blade. It's such a fine thing. That's why a quarter of a turn makes all the difference in the world.
Let's talk about Bobby Labonte, Todd Parrott, and the 43 car. When that caution came out a few laps ago, they stayed out. They accomplished 2 things. They led a lap, they got 5 points, but what they did, I talked about it, on lap 319, he came to pit road and he topped off with fuel. That's 81 laps to go. Steve Burns was telling me while we were at break, they feel like they could make it on one more stop now.
It might be the only car that could.
I just think it's interesting. All of a sudden, here we are with just a short distance to go. And look at our top 10. It's just, it's the guys that they've been up and down, up and down, and up and down. But here they are, the front runners every week.
And there's a lot of Roush cars in that top 10 now.
4 of them. And there's 3 Evernham Dodges in the top 10, including first and second place Kane and Riggs, and Jeremy Mayfield in the 19th.
Yeah, he's
running 10th.
It's really a great night for Ray and his whole crowd, but particularly Jeremy. This is one of Jeremy's best runs.
They've changed everything on Jeff Gordon's car but the driver, and they've got him in the top 10.
Yeah, that's another car that's been up and down, up and down. Got out front that one time, drove off and left everybody, but he struggled most of the mid-race. We're going to have a...
Now this is Jeff Burton in the 31 car. We know on that last caution, he elected Scott Miller, his crew chief, to go with 4 fresh tires because the time before that they had fueled only. Now Paul Menard, the 15 car, he just had bounced up in the top 15. He just fell back a couple of positions. This is only his second start. Remember, he was one of the cars that spun out early in the race, and the only other start he had this year, finished 7th at Atlanta with this very car.
We're coming up on 500 miles, and we still have 20 cars on the lead lap. We have 5 cars out of the race, the most recent of which is that of Kyle Busch. Matt's with him.
He's walked out of the infield care center. Kyle, you're okay. A lot of frustration. Was that over something that happened earlier in the race, or just what took place on the front stretch?
No, just what took place there. But, you know, first off, I just want to thank all my guys back at the shop. I mean, they worked so hard to put these things together. We tear them up just like that. I mean, there's not much I could have done different. You know, Casey just lost it out of turn 4, and I was trying to turn down, but I didn't want to spin myself out in the process, and he collected me and spun us backwards into the front straightaway fence, and you know, just very frustrating moment for myself. You know, we had such a great race car that I felt like could have won the race, if not at least finished in the top 5. I mean, we were really clicking right there at the end of my race. So all in all, I mean, I just wish it would have been a little bit better outcome.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time. That's all. For 500 of 600 miles complete on NASCAR's longest night. You're watching the Coke 600 on Fox. Past his teammate Casey Kane. Kane has 3 wins. They've all come from the pole. Scott Riggs won the pole for this race, and he is once again in the lead. Kane has fallen to 3rd as Jimmy Johnson, who is going for 4 here, 4 in a row, passes Kane.
And Darryl, you talked at the top of the show about the first 10 laps being a little slick. You and I were talking to break. That 9 car was almost too good to begin into that run.
Yeah, he was really strong. I think his car must be way tight, what's happened to it. And Dick, what are they saying?
Well, just before he passed for the lead, Scott Riggs was told if he had anything left, now was the time to show it, and he just stepped on the gas and off he went into the lead. The reason why he had to show it, the 48, Jimmy Johnson, was coming. Steve.
Well, Dick, Chad Canals just told Jimmy Johnson, if this thing stays green, we're going to put 4 tires on. You've got a 3-second lead on the car behind you. Matt on Casey Kane.
Casey Kane, Steve says that they need to make another significant adjustment because the 48 has really got their car dialed in. He feels like they're starting to fall behind, looking for a big-time air pressure adjustment on their next stop. Mike?
Something's changed on Casey Kane's car because he was running 0.2 of a second faster than Jimmy Johnson, and now he's running 0.3 of a second slower. That may not sound like a lot, but over 10 or more laps, well, look, you see how the gap has changed.
Well, he's changed his line, too. He was running high, and now he's hanging the bottom. So I'm not sure. That tells me the car is not like he'd want it to be, or he'd be running that high line, particularly in 3 and 4.
You know, the one thing, though, that I think could be a factor, it was a factor last night in that Busch race, is most of these cars pitted with 83 laps to go. That means they would have to run 42 and 41 laps. And I think fuel mileage you were getting in the early part of the race would be deceiving because the pace is so fast right now, you're using more fuel.
The air's better, too. And what are they saying down there, Steve?
And listening to Chad Canals, he just told Jimmy Johnson, he said, throttle back and save a little fuel. We need to save a little fuel, about 1/10 of a second a lap.
And I think you're going to have to. But, guys, we've been racing a little over 4 hours. We're into the final 100 miles. Darrell, Jeff, you won this thing 5 times. I won it in 1991. This is that 100 miles that we don't experience anywhere we go. This is when the crew chief starts thinking about things. The driver actually starts hearing things. This is when attrition, Jeff, can play a big role in the outcome of this race.
Yes, it is, Larry. And the thing you really worry about the most is the valve train going to hold up? That's usually the first thing you have problems with. You have a situation where they fatigue out. They're not used to seeing an increase on RPMs like when this track cools down, speeds go up, RPMs go up along with it, and that can create an issue, especially in the final 100 miles of a race. And again, as far as the driver's concerned, you know, he starts hearing every little creak and every little noise that comes out of it. He starts hearing gremlins, and that doesn't help him as far as staying focused over the final 100 miles also.
Yeah, right now, I mean, you're going faster than you've gone all night. And so right now is when you need to be at your best, not just car-wise, but driver-wise. Right now is when all that nutrition, all that training, all those things that you put into this evening right here pays off.
And also, Darrell, just like going back to the beginning of our conversation about driver comfort, now it's when all this stuff really comes into play, and whether or not you're really still focused and can you get up on that wheel when I really need you, just like Scott Riggs has done. He's gotten up on the wheel now when it counts.
Yeah, you don't want to have any distractions. You want to now just focus on making fast laps around this joint.
If indeed in about 10 to 15 laps, a lot of these cars are going to experience their final pit stops, you definitely can't have a mistake on this one.
Now, what about driver fatigue?
I'm a little bit loose, but it feels good.
Jamie McMurray does not sound fatigued. He is the 10th place car right now. He was one of the drivers that was involved in a crash here last night in the Busch race, a lick hard enough to send him to the hospital for evaluation. He was checked and released. And how about the Roush Armada, the Roush-Keteers? All 5 in the top 10.
Yeah, Jamie McMurray sounds really good, and he needs a good run. I'm glad to see him up there in the top 10 tonight.
And remember, it wasn't the Coca-Cola 600. It was the 500 in the fall. That's where Jamie got his only career win in only his second career start, subbing for Sterling Marlin.
Scott Riggs is trying to score the 9th 600 win from the pole. Jeff Gordon did it 3 times. David Pearson did it twice. Fred Lorenzen, Buck Baker, Jimmy Johnson. Scott Riggs wants his name on that list.
Now, we know we may be coming down to that final stop. You heard Chad Canals tell Jimmy Johnson possibly conserve a little fuel. We're starting to see some notes being passed amongst the 48 team. There's Chad Canals, the crew chief, going to make sure these crew members know exactly what they want to do on this final pit stop.
And make sure nobody else knows.
Exactly, because when you talk on the radio, the driver hears you and all the teams hear you as well. Safest bet, go with a note.
50 laps and at least 1 pit stop to go in the Coca-Cola 600 on Fox.
The 4th, meanwhile, 4th and 5th place battle. Casey Mears in the 42 slides into Kyle Busch. And Kyle was frustrated, and when Mears came around, that's part of the Hans device. The 21-year-old later called to NASCAR's punishment office.
Oh, yeah, he'll have to go down to the Oval Office and have a little word with the president.
Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Pit stops have begun. Jeff Burton is coming in now.
But I'm coming
Got
in.
the 24 car slowing down back there. He's been running real slow last couple of laps.
We got a report he's been having problems with his brakes.
J.J. Yaley is pitted. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been in for right side tires. Here comes Reed Sorensen, Johnny Sauter, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Gordon. Steve?
Upper right-hand part of your screen, the 31 of Jeff Burton. Right side tires going on his Chevrolet. And now Jimmy Johnson is coming down pit road. This should be a 4-tire stop. Johnson slides into his pits right on the marks. They make a chassis adjustment to the left rear. Matt?
And service already complete on Casey Kane's Dodge, right side tires only. And they also pushed in a spring rubber.
4 tires for Mark Martin, Matt. Matt Kenseth now getting left side tires. Robbie Gordon's in, Clint Boyer, Sterling Marlin, Bobby Labonte. Dave Blaney, Scott Riggs gives up the lead. Menard is in, Mears. McMurray, Hamlin, and here's your new leader.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car tried to get to pit road. Too fast, he couldn't make it. He's going to have to go back around.
Dick?
Riggs is in, but he did not get into his pit as well as he might. It was a case of dodgems, and now the 10 car with Riggs has stalled. He had been the leader. It had been a flawless day until just now. Oh dear, right at the very tail end. There, the engine caught. He's running again. Oh, what a disappointment.
And that's a mistake on what might be that final pit stop. Could be a costly mistake. Here comes Jeff Green in the 66 car making what would be maybe his final stop.
An attaboy for Jeff Green. They had that penalty on pit road, and he has had to fight his way back into the top 15 tonight after having one of the fastest cars here. And now Carl Edwards gives up the lead to come to the pits.
Now, I feel pretty safe. These guys making a stop right here, they can make it to the end. It's those guys that pitted on 358, 359, they could be in trouble. The 10 car's troubles continues. Took equipment away from his pit box. He'll have to come back in for at least a pass through. I would say his night as far as winning this race, Dick Berggren, is done.
Yeah. Jeff Gordon's in the wall, turn 4.
Caution is out too. That could be a break for the 10 car right there, because now his penalty possibly tail into the longest line.
Jeff Gordon's car looks a lot like Brian Vickers did when it did the same thing in the same place.
Something, you see the right front tire, something broke on that race car. He had a problem coming on pit road. He slowed for a few laps. There was a little problem when they went in there and put the new tires on. Now he's broken something underneath there.
Jeff Gordon came in here 6th in the Nextel Cup standings. He won't leave here in that spot.
See it smoking, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, there, guys. I don't know what happened there.
And Darrell, remember, we just had reported he'd been complaining about his brakes for about the last 20 or 25 laps.
Something definitely broke that time.
Maybe even broke a brake rotor.
Looks like the suspension part to me. I mean, the way the tires kicked out there. Thought like the A-frame collapsed or something.
Now, let me tell you who else this could be a big break for, because I'm telling you, he was not going to be able to make it without stopping again. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car, I feel like he's going to have to come to pit road. Pit road's closed right now, but he's going to have to come to pit road, but at least it will put him on the same cycle as everyone.
That's right, because he and J.J. Yaley came in 2 or 3 laps earlier than any of the other leaders.
At lap 355 with 45 laps to go.
37 laps. 58 miles left to go here in Charlotte. And let's have another look at what has happened to Jeff Gordon, who has now taken his car to the garage.
See, it starts sparking right here, and the tire starts, something's breaking. Something's giving way on the suspension right there, like an A-arm or something. And as he goes down in the corner, it finally just collapses.
DW.
Yes, buddy.
Think about what these guys have been doing here recently. Coil binding, going down, riding on that lower control arm to the point that maybe it's finally given way. Realize that we haven't done this in 600 miles before that I know of.
Yeah.
This may be what we're seeing is fatigue from doing that type of a combination.
And Jeff, the upper control arms now are so long. They're about 9 inches long. Those things have, I wondered how they didn't collapse.
So 3 of the 5 Hendrick cars are in the garage or badly damaged, leaving just Jimmy Johnson and Terry Labonte on the racetrack of Rick Hendrick's Chevrolets. He's led 90 laps. Here is his undoing on this most recent pit stop. The car will not fire, and everybody wants to help.
It all started when he stalled the car. All right, watch the jack man right there. He's still got the jack in his hand. Look at the fuel man. He's still got the fuel can. That's taking equipment out of the pit box. That's what's warranted the penalty. And even though he's going to be way back in the field, that caution was a big break for him.
Yes, because now he just makes a stop and go under caution, and he's still on the lead lap. For the second time in 3 races, Jeff Gordon is in the garage before the checkered flag. Steve.
And Mike, he just had a good look at his race car, and Jeff, it looked like on the replay that something broke on the right front corner of that race car.
Yeah, I just had the brakes go out just prior to that, so we looked at it on that pit stop, and you know, the rotor was still on and everything seemed to be intact, and I left pit road, it was vibrating, and then vibration went away. I thought, you know, it's too good to be true. And then went into 3, and I don't know, you know, something in the right front. I'm not sure what it is. Brake, rotor, hub, wheel, something broke, and went you know, straight in the wall. Thank goodness for the soft walls, and didn't hurt. And you know, my guys got an awesome job. We were horrible at the beginning, which we thought we might be, and you know, in this long race, you got to fight hard, and all the guys on this DuPont Chevrolet team were doing a great job fighting, and we got ourselves back in the top 10, and I was just looking forward to that last pit stop and getting going. You know, I can't believe this is the kind of tire that we have to race on. No Goodyear can do better than this, and we can put on a better race than this, but you know, that certainly wasn't the tire's problem. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Jeff Gordon out of the race, came in here 6th in the points. He'll drop to at least 7th. Green flag. Carl Edwards with 33 laps to go, leading Jimmy Johnson and Casey Kane. Ford, Chevy, Dodge at the front of this pack, then Kenseth, Martin, Burton, and Biffle.
Now Kane moved to the high side through 1 and 2 on this restart, trying to get a run down this backstretch. Remember, Carl Edwards won the Busch race last night.
I think that if Kane his car is right, he'll get to that high side pretty quickly, especially in 3 and 4.
He told Kenny French under that caution that the car, although it's only a couple laps, the car is really cutting again well. So he said he should be able to run with these guys.
Those 3 are taking off from the field, but they are 3 cars under a blanket leaving turn 2.
There he goes, though. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car to the bottom off turn 2. He's going to take the lead going to turn 3. There comes Carl fighting back.
He's going to look at the lead, but these guys get wound up on that high side. It's hard to make that pass.
It's 4 cars under a blanket. Add Matt Kenseth to the mix.
Oh, I love it when business picks up like this. This is racing right here, boys.
46 miles to go.
Brand new racetrack. Look at the different grooves these guys are able to
I would normally say the guy that can run the bottom's the guy that'll win, but it seems to me like the speed's in the top.
Casey Kane's going to show us that
here you see a good
right
example
now.
of it right there.
I'll say.
And I haven't seen Jimmy Johnson wander off the bottom very often here. When he wins, it's because he runs lower than anybody else.
And Matt Kenseth in the 17 car staying right in those tracks. But look at the run Kane got that time off turn 2.
That's the thing, Larry. You get such momentum off the turn going down the straightaway. That's the big deal. But these 2 cats here.
Now Carl to the top side. Kane to the bottom side. He's going to take the lead in the 9 car.
Now that's a good race car right there.
It doesn't matter, top or bottom.
You got it.
That's a great race car right there.
But it's almost like Carl anticipated Kane was going to go to the top side in 3 and 4. Kane went to the bottom.
Kane was able then, boys.
No pun intended.
No. It just seemed to fit.
Now everybody's back down on the bottom.
Now here's the thing to remember now. The 9 car earlier tonight and just this last run here drove off and left everybody for about 10, 15 laps. Then they all caught him.
28 laps to go. Look at this wad here. There's cars a lap down. There's lead lap cars. There's cars everywhere.
There's cars with 2 tires, no tires, 4 tires. And a bunch of cars named Wilma.
Now there's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. We talked about he had to come back to pit road to top off the fuel. He could not make it. He just moved in the 11th position around his teammate Paul Menard in the 15.
So we think everyone can go the distance from here.
Pretty safe they can do it there because the ones that couldn't, they came to pit road and topped off.
It's a 4-car race. Everyone else, from Mark Martin on back, is 3.5 seconds or more off the lead.
I just think the only thing I would worry about on the 9 cars, we saw him just shoot out there like this the last go-round, and all of a sudden, here comes some guys that chased him down. He kind of fell back, so we'll see if he can maintain this pace.
In this season's first 5 races, Casey Kane began with 3 top 5s and was second in points. But in the last 6 races, he's been 21st or worse in 4 of those 6 races, falling to 8th in the points. This would be quite a comeback tonight, but this is far from over. Here comes Johnson back after second place Edwards.
Yeah, he stuck that nose right on the back of that 99 car. Carl Edwards got him up the hill and going to make the pass.
Outside.
25 to go. Carl's going to fight back on the top side, though, through 1 and 2.
You know, it's easier to run the bottom, believe it or not, because there's a white line down there. You get up at the top, there's nothing up there but the wall. So you got to be careful when you get way up high.
Casey Kane, that 9 car, he's looking in the rearview mirror and saying, boys, you just keep on racing side by side.
Johnson wiggles just a bit.
Well, he wanted to take Carl's line away, but he was not quite clear of him.
And Casey Kane becomes a vanishing point in the distance for these two battling for second place.
And that's the thing is frustrating Jimmy Johnson right now is he sees Casey driving off.
That white dot's getting smaller and smaller.
24 laps, 36 miles to go in the Coke 600 on Fox. Gets a new set of tires, comes right back, and he's our fourth bold move of the race because Edwards is currently third. He and Jimmy Johnson battled side by side, lap after lap. Finally, Johnson got by and is now 1.7 seconds behind Casey Kane.
Guys, do the math. Jimmy Johnson has now cleared Carl Edwards. He's 1.7 seconds behind him. There's 18 laps to go. He's beaten him by close to a 10th a lap. I feel it happening.
Yeah, one high and one low. And which way will they go?
Catching him is one thing. Passing him another.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can see him slowly. I mean, it's just ever so slowly gaining.
Dick Bergman.
Well, we talked a little bit about Carl Edwards' spin earlier in the night, but there's been a whole lot more than that, Mike. As we have listened on his radio, Edwards has complained all night long about the car chattering, the tires chattering, the car being unbelievably tight. But somehow or another, Carl Edwards always seems to rise to the occasion. Good car, bad car, when we get near the end of the race, Carl Edwards invariably seems to be in the top 10 and often the top 5. Tonight's another one of those examples.
What was a 4-car race, Dick, has turned into 3. Matt Kenseth is now off that lead group. He's backed up just a little bit and may fall into the clutches of Mark Martin before this one is over. Casey Kane leading, one more break, and then we're going to take you all the way to the checkered flag. We're about to take the 10 laps to go sign. Started 9th tonight, and he's now got a 2-second lead over Jimmy Johnson.
But what's going to decide this race is traffic. They're coming up on the back of the field here, and there's lots of heavy traffic ahead. It's who gets through this traffic is going to win this race.
There is a wad of cars up there in front of him. 11 to go for Casey.
Now, good news for Casey is about 4 of those cars are crippled, so they're going to stay out of the way, I'm pretty sure.
He's led the most laps tonight. He has never finished in the top 10 at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and he's trying to become the first Dodge to win here since Richard Petty in 1977.
I know Jeff Gordon is not happy about this hard tire. I guarantee you this young man is, not because he's leading the race, but how many tire problems has Casey Kane had at this racetrack? Almost every race.
Oh, last year he just made me have cold chills every race because he just beat the Busch car or Cup. Seemed like it happened to him.
But I'm going to tell you what, he just got beat by 3/10. Jimmy Johnson, you mentioned it, Darrell, he has caught the back of the field over there. A lot of lap cars, 9 to go.
Well, as he may get slowed down, but then the question is, will Jimmy Johnson get slowed down?
If Kane wins, it will break a 10-year Memorial Day stranglehold on victory lane by car owners Rick Hendrick and Jack Roush.
Johnson beat him just about a 1/2 tenth that time. It's down to about a 2.5, 8 to go.
But Casey just got by 4 lap cars. Now Jimmy's got to get by all of them. One of them being Brian Vickers, his teammate. We've been bumping tires and helping out, so I'm sure he won't be a problem.
Carl Edwards is now 3 seconds back as you look at Ray Evernham, Casey Kane's car owner. Matt Kenseth 6 seconds back. Mark Martin 6.6. Jeff Burton 7.8 behind.
That time Kane gained 2/10 back, so it's just backs and forth right now.
Since Kane won in Texas back in April, Dodge has not had a top 5 finish in Nextel Cup. Casey Kane trying to score a big win here. 6 laps to go.
And since Casey finished 6th at Phoenix the last 3 races, he has not even had a top 20 finish in this 9 car.
But you know what, Larry, the exciting thing for this kid is he is now living up to the expectations that we all had for him. Last year was a miserable year for him, and that sophomore slump. But this year, man, he is on it. He is fast every week.
And you talked about Bob Osborne. Casey Kane has another crew chief that's like a dial tone, Kenny Francis. He never changes tempo.
That's right.
18 lead lap cars, 5 laps to go. All the Roush cars in the top 10, but Edwards the highest of those, 3rd. 1 Hendrick Chevy left in the top 10. Jimmy Johnson in 2nd. A Childress Chevy, Jeff Burton in 6th. And a Gibbs Chevrolet, Denny Hamlin in 9th.
So far, the slow traffic has really hadn't affected Casey too badly. Been able to break his momentum just a little bit, but not enough to hurt him.
That's Kenny Francis back there in the white hat. You just saw him talking to Casey Kane. I'm sure telling him how many laps and what the interval back to Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car is.
Most importantly, that interval has not varied over the last 4 or 5 laps.
No.
1.6, 1.7 seconds.
They've been swapping. When Casey gets behind a car, slows him down, and then Jimmy has to deal with the same car. So it's been a trade-off.
Next Saturday at Dover after the Busch race, the on-track walk for charity. We know of at least one young lady who's giving up her high school prom so she can walk for charity with Casey Kane.
How about that?
I'll tell you what, I know I went out to Seattle with these guys back in the winter there. Casey Kane is an idol. I couldn't believe how many people lined up to get his autograph, like 5,000.
There you see Ray Evernham looking on. Here's teammates, Mark Martin in the 6th, Matt Kenseth in the 17. Just about ran out of racetrack, battling for 4th. 2 laps to go.
Kenseth, the point standing runner-up at this moment. Mark Martin 3rd in the points. Martin in his final Coke 600.
And here comes Casey. For the white flag one more time there, bud. You got it in the bag.
And Mike, you talked about Dodge's lack of success here. Casey Kane, his best finish here has been a 12th in 4 starts.
He's off turn 2. He clears Joe Nemechek. Got clear sailing, the 4 cars up ahead of him, but I don't think it's going to be a factor.
He will lead 158 laps tonight. Casey Kane leading this train on the final lap.
Here he comes.
Engine number 9 brings it to the finish line. Casey Kane wins the Coke 600.
Jimmy Johnson finishes 2nd. His streak will come to an end with the Coca-Cola 600. Carl Edwards 3rd. Mark Martin 4th. Another Roush car, Matt Kenseth 5th.
Jimmy Johnson finishes 2nd, says, "That come, I had a bad night."
Yeah.
A bunch of guys had good runs on Larry back behind these guys that we were watching so closely.
Got Jeff Burton 6th. Jamie McMurray up to 8th at the end. Denny Hamlin, the highest rookie, 9th.
He and his buddy there, Reed Sorensen, had a 10th place finish, and Dale Jr. brought her home 11th.
And Jeff Green overcame that penalty to wind up 12th at the finish.
Casey's getting a little used to burnouts this year.
That tire's just squealing.
A winner at Texas, at Atlanta.
Whoa there, buddy. Whoa now.
And now at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Give me that flag.
4 career victories. 3 of them this year, all on the 1.5-mile cookie cutter ovals. How about that?
The Flying Nine.
The stranglehold that Jimmy Johnson had on this track. And there is your Coca-Cola 600 winner. Test of endurance and speed, and outlasting Jimmy Johnson, who wound up 2nd. His pit crew, which did a excellent job tonight. 14 different pit stops. Had a lug nut problem early. They had to overcome that.
This is what you call, digging in deep and making it work. I mean, we look at this crew right here. They're excited about doing their job and doing their job well. But how about Ray Evernham? He knows how to win this race. He does a great job.
First Dodge to win this race since Richard Petty back in 1977. Steve Burns is down there. Steve?
Kasey Kahne climbing out of his Dodge. Chris Myers, a big win here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And a happy Kasey Kahne celebrates. Kasey, first of all, congratulations. It was an up and down night. Ultimately, what was the key to winning this 600-mile race?
Well, they were able to put a little more tape on the nose of this Dodge Charger, and it just brought it back to life. This Dodge dealer's UAW Dodge Charger was great all night, and we were able to really get going there at the end. I knew we needed to be loosened up in order to do it, and these guys did an awesome job again, and just awesome to win the 600, man. Such a long race. Great day. I watched the Indy 500. Congrats to Sam Hornish. What an awesome job. Marco Andretti. Pretty unbelievable what that kid did today, too. So just a awesome job by all these guys. We had a car last week that was capable of winning. I made a mistake. Cost some people, maybe. I don't know. But today was ours.
Kasey, what are your emotions right now? I mean, you grew up in the state of Washington racing on short tracks. You watched the Indy 500 today. Tonight, you win the Coca-Cola 600.
It's crazy. I mean, I wish Bill Elliott could be here. That's the guy that we need here in Victory Lane. He's never been in Victory Lane with us, and he deserves to be with this number 9 car. And just to win here, Bill's won races here. It's a huge win for us. I'm very excited, and Indy 500 is a big part of my life. I'd love to race that someday, and we're able to win the 600 though. That was great.
Enjoy the win.
All right, thank you.
Let's go to Matt.
Chad Cadell said at one point, need to take a big swing to try to dial in the race car. And you came up one spot short of getting that record.
Yeah, we were close. We had a great car tonight. Seemed like the 9, the 19, the 10, different points. I guess I should say on average were a little bit better than us. We had the fastest car at times, just not that last segment. Great pit stop. We were on 4 tires with those other guys were on 2. Thought that was going to be what we needed, but just didn't have enough speed at the end. Got to congratulate Kasey. I know how hard it is to win a 600 here. Hate to see a streak come to an end, but at the same time, I've been very fortunate to win 3 of them, and know I'll have a few more shots here as my career goes on.
And a guy that walked over and congratulated him on what a great night he had also is standing by with Dick Bergen.
And that would be Carl Edwards, who finished 3rd. Now, you had a terribly bulky car all night long, recovered from his spin. How did you manage to pull a 3rd place finish out of all that?
Oh, we just we kept freeing it up, and then we got a little too free in, but that's what it took, man. Wally Brown did a good job. Played around a lot with tire pressures. Our whole Office Depot crew did a great job. I know that sounds like a record, man, but we really did overcome some terrible adversity. We were so bad, and to come back and finish 3rd and run our best at the end of the race, I'm so proud of my team.
The driver never gave up, Mike Troy.
No, he didn't, and all the Roush cars were rewarded with top 10 finishes tonight, all 5 of them. Let's look at the Nextel Cup standings as Jimmy Johnson stretches his lead just a tiny bit over Matt Kenseth tonight. Mark Martin 3rd. Tony Stewart will be sore going to Dover, dropping 2 spots in the points. Dale Jr. holds station in 5th, and Kasey Kahne, as Jeff Burton climbs 2 spots. What a night. But the Evernham cars, Kasey Kahne and Scott Riggs, under long green runs, if you call those long green runs, were the class of the field.
Yeah, I think if I was going to do anything differently, I would just come back with our normal 22-gallon fuel cell, and the tire maybe needs a little adjusting. But I got to say, overall, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and there was a lot of mistakes in the pits. We knew that was going to happen, but overall, great finish, pretty exciting race. Look forward to next week.
But Larry, this was really entertaining with all the different strategies of 4 tires, 2 tires, no tires that teams would employ at different times.
I know I'm tired, and I think the great thing is a brand new racetrack. You go back to all the brand new racetracks we've had with new pavement, single file around the bottom. Just look at Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson there at the end of that race. One at the top, one at the bottom, and you got to give these crews credit. 14 pit stops tonight, and I realize maybe we didn't need the small fuel cell, maybe we didn't need the hard tire, but you know what? For the most part, we had a safe race and we had a great race.
Hey, Larry, it sure beats level gating, I can tell you that.
Yes, it does.
Let's remind everyone to remember what Memorial Day is all about. National Moment of Remembrance at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And Chris, we'll see you in Dover.
And Casey Kane, for the first time, winning and not being on the pole. The 9 car starting in the 9 spot. 4th victory in his Cup career. 3 wins this year. Ties him with Jimmy Johnson, Jeff, for the most, and showing he's a real championship contender, bouncing back after that sophomore slump of last year.
I think definitely so, Chris. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of resurgence with Ray Evernham's group this year. All of his cars are running well. This is no exception this weekend coming to Lowe's. And in the end, you know, I think we saw that, you know, as good as Jimmy Johnson has been here, I don't think he's lost anything, but I think we also saw how much better Casey King was when it counted.
Ray Evernham was the crew chief when Jeff Gordon won his first Coca-Cola 600, and here for Casey Kane. So Dodges will be contenders as we head to Dover, and then Pocono, and then Michigan. What did you come away with overall from this Coca-Cola 600? There was a lot of pit stops, a lot of frenetic energy.
It definitely was a different 600. I've never experienced one like this before. All the pit stops, all the little different plans. I mean, normally you wanted 4 tires at this racetrack, and I think Larry and Darrell kind of said it very aptly, because the fact that 2 tires, no tires, 4 tires, it didn't seem to matter. It made everything kind of like, as I said earlier, like you're almost like in a clothes dryer. First at the top, the bottom, but the heat was always on all night long.
And in the end, Casey Kane came up clean. The Dodges were dialed in, and Tony Stewart, who has that cracked shoulder blade, as you said, in extreme pain, but going to try and give it a go next week, tumbling a little bit in points. We'll start our coverage at Dover on Speed on Friday on FX. Practice the Busch Series, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific on Saturday. Greg Biffle won this Cup race last year. Next Cup race beginning at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific. Start and end your Sunday with Speed for NASCAR coverage across the Fox family of networks. And promotional consideration provided by these fine people. We appreciate their support as we bring the racing to you. Casey Kane named one of People magazine's most beautiful people recently, and I'm sure he feels like he looks pretty good in victory lane. There was some idolizing going on today on this Memorial Day holiday weekend. The tradition